What is up, all of you Ugnaughts and Jawas out there, and welcome to a new episode of Mando Talk, our final Ahsoka Season 1 podcast episode. I'm your host, Caleb Keller. We're finally getting the chance to get this done for you guys. And I'm not alone, baby. We've got the boys back. Zach Horvath. Apparently, he's the only one on screen right now. So, Zach, what's up?
What up? What up? Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I am so excited to talk about Ahsoka. We haven't really talked. Like, us three really haven't.
No.
A little bit like, oh, what'd you think? But we haven't dug into it, and I know we're going to. I can't wait.
There we go. And DJ Foster has arrived. What's up, man?
Hey, sorry, I was in the basement. I had to take the
elevator.
elevator. I had to take the elevator. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you came up.
I did. Yeah, I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I'm here too. It's so good to be back. Honestly, like, can we just what they called Ahsoka's ship Home One?
Hera's
Is that what
ship.
Hera's ship was Home
yeah.
One? So the Ghost is now Home One.
Well, see, I'm a little confused by that. Maybe
Home One's the big one.
Home One's the big one where Hera parks her ship.
There you go. Okay, this is home. This is Home One. Is all I'm trying to say.
There you go.
I mean, I feel it's good to be home. It's good to be home. Is what I'm trying to say.
There you go.
Nailed it.
Absolutely. Probably would have been easier for you to just
me-
say like Han Solo and Chewie walking into the Falcon.
Could have been,
maybe.
But you know what? I'm a long speaker. I've got, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I'm just here and I'm happy. All right, you know.
Hey, I'm happy too. I'm happy to finally talk about this show with somebody else on the podcast.
For real, man.
I feel like this was the first season where I kind of went through the entire thing by myself. But it's really, I guess it's kind of a change in pace regarding content, because now finally, with this episode, you're going to hear from other people. So I'm going to, maybe take a step back. I always say that, but I'm going to be in the mix. You know that. Well, let's get into it. We're going to run through really like the big things of discussion regarding Season 1, and we're really going to take a look at it like episode by episode. The main topics of discussion, like 2 to 3 bullet points. We'll discuss it. But before we get into it, I do want to say thank you so much to everybody that supported the Ahsoka Companion Podcast era of Mando Talk. We've crossed the 400 subscriber number on YouTube, so thank you big time to those of you that did that. And I will just say this plug. The podcast obviously pauses until new content comes out, so maybe Skeleton Crew, hopefully, if they get the ducks in the row on that one. So with that said, if you want to hear more from me in that kind of downtime, YouTube is where you'll see me. Shorts, short videos, all things like that. But now, let's get into this. Let's start with part 1, ladies and gentlemen. Part 1 obviously was titled Master and Apprentice, and one of the big things that I wanted to talk about regarding that first episode were the thoughts on the introduction and use of Baylan and Shin during this season, and I specifically want us to just focus on parts 1 through 7, and save our thoughts on Baylan and Shin until part 8. So let's just start with, I don't know, DJ. You go first here. So what did you think of Baylan and Shin? Just overall, season 1 through 7 episodes.
Overall, I think 1 through 7, it's a great, story. I think it's the perfect, master and apprentice story in respect to, like, I'm thinking like Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, episode 1. A lot of similarities between those four, and I guess if you wanted to look at it as duos, obviously Baylan and Shin have that dark side mentality going, and that's the obvious main difference. I think beyond that, though, that like it's very similar to that Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon relationship. And if you go back to like Tales of the Jedi, it's kind of similar to, Dooku and Qui-Gon. Like in certain ways, Qui-Gon's obviously a very mild-mannered Padawan in that episode. It's just the one. But, Shin's not mild-mannered in any respect. A lot of questions and a lot of just curiosity from her. And I think that's good. I think that was good character development for her, especially in those first, really those first 3 or 4 episodes that she and Baylan really were in there a lot together. I think there was one episode where they didn't appear at all. And so, looking at that, I really love the relationship, and I loved that it was a clear, excuse me, it was a clear master and apprentice relationship. And that's what I really appreciated about that.
Yeah, that was really cool. I really dug the master and apprentice vibes between the two, and honestly, something I wish we could have maybe gotten even more on. But of course, the show was called Ahsoka, so we couldn't spend too much time on them. Zach,
Yeah.
Balin and Shin, what did you think?
I completely agree. I thought they were awesome. Balin was a standout for me. Incredible character. Just like every time the dude would speak, it's just like lore drops and interesting information. You're just like, what's he gonna say next? Because
Yeah,
it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
I will say the Shin character was fine for me. Like she
okay.
was like the perfect kind of apprentice where I'm so glad they didn't do the whole, oh, she's gonna be good, and here we go. Like Ahsoka, says, yo, what's up? Come with us. And she's like, I'm out. So I liked that because that
Runs.
seemed very in character to me. Like she's like, no, my master just bounced. I'm not just gonna, become a good person or whatever she thinks they are, right?
Yeah.
And I also love that Balin was very structured and saying, like, look, we're not the Jedi and we're not the Sith. Like we're this like weird thing that I think is good. And
Yeah.
so
And one of the most intriguing lines from Balin for me was when Shin. I don't remember exactly what she said, but Balin says, "I trained you to be more," regarding like the Jedi or the Sith or something
she
like
asked
that.
him, do you miss it? Do you miss?
Yes, that's what it was.
And he's like, I miss the idea of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, nailed that.
And that's a powerful piece of dialogue. I mean,
Yes.
I assume Filoni just wrote that in there. I think he wrote every episode,
He wrote
didn't he?
every single episode.
That's what I thought.
Every single one.
So for him to kind of just drop that in there, that I miss the idea of it, I think that hits on a lot of people who have talked about the concept of, like, what little nuances of the Jedi Order did you like and dislike? I think it was almost kind of like a message to the fans. Of course, Filoni being himself a fan, he knows what we're thinking. It's just one of those weird sixth sense type things that he has.
Well,
So
it would make sense that Balin would feel that way.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
he was all in. I mean, he was in. He was a Jedi.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I loved the idea of it, but the execution of it is the issue. Right.
And I think that kind of plays back into the old EU with Luke Skywalker, just a hair, because, Luke was about abolishing certain aspects of the old Jedi Order when he developed his new Jedi Order. And this, again, is in the expanded universe for those who are listening. I just don't want to make sure it's not too confusing. He definitely, like, one of the big things he drops was that inability to marry, to actually get, in a long-term relationship and allow those attachments to be there. I'm not saying that's what Balin wants. I'm just saying there's elements that are similar to Balin's motives is all I'm really saying. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's a fun, like, little piece of Star Wars lore to throw in there for everybody.
And it makes complete sense to me. If I have, abandoned this ideal, if you're thinking about a religious type thing, then I'm probably going to be different than what that religion believes, right? I'm probably
absolutely.
Mix it up a little bit. So
in Christian culture, we call that deconstruction.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly. And I was fascinated by Balin. Like, everything, the way he was played. R.I.P. I'll be the first one to say it. Like, dude, I am so sad. Number one, he didn't get to see the love that he's getting.
Yeah,
from everybody. True. But also, like, we don't get more, right? And I'll say this first as well. Recast.
A lot of really good recast options out there.
Dude, the character is so good. And
good.
It is in part by his performance, 1,000%.
Yeah.
But man, the writing and the mythology and the backstory of him is just fascinating.
Yeah.
What's he doing, right? And
it really makes me want to jump to his last shot. I know we're saving that, so I'm not gonna.
We are.
But but all that to say that he has this incredible setup. I don't think they're gonna write Ray. I mean, they have to write Ray out. Ray Stevenson.
They won't write him out. No,
but I don't think you can write out Balin at this point.
No,
and if they're gonna do it, it's got to be done like. I mean, it's got to be the most perfect piece of writing, and that's something very difficult to do. I think
it is. Well, Balin, I agree. But between the two, Balin shine. Both of them shined. Really, they were phenomenal. in both their respects as far as the role that they were trying to play. So I very much enjoyed them, and I'm sure we're not done talking about them. As you alluded to, DJ, we're definitely going to come back to the old episode 8 cliffhanger that we got with both of them. Well, the next thing that I wanted to hear y'all discuss is Lothal. Lothal in live action, and really all of the Rebel vibes that they translated into live action, including the characters. How did it land for us? I'll go ahead and say I think the Hera casting, the Sabine casting, the live action set as far as them recreating Lothal, Governor Azadi, like I feel like they crushed it. And obviously it was Dave Filoni at the helm, so it would make sense that he would kind of get how does this look in live action. And I'll pass this question to our most recent Rebel rewatcher, and or actually first-time watcher regarding the essential list. Zach, what did you think? Because you're the most fresh, I guess, the freshest eyes on this.
First of all, I'm on the boat. Rebels, incredible.
Thank you.
Incredible.
Let's go.
Like incredible Star Wars content. Okay, content in general, but Star Wars specific. Kanan, one of my favorite characters of all time at this point. Okay,
yeah.
This isn't Rebels podcast, but what I will say, in my fresh memory of just watching it, they have absolutely nailed the casting, like across the board for me. Like Hera, Ahsoka, Sabine, especially Sabine. Like that's a weird one for me that you could definitely mess up because she's so what's the word? She's so like animation character in the show.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Very goofy, kind of does these weird faces. She's always colorful and stuff. So she could have been bad, if that makes sense. But I think they absolutely nailed her here. All the Rebel stuff was awesome. I agree 100%. I think they nailed everything about bringing that to live action without hitting it over the head. Like my wife, she watched, she did not feel lost, right? Like she just was like, oh, okay, cool. These are new characters. But to me, I'm like, hey, oh, whoa, cool. Wow. So I thought that was so well done overall.
That's good. DJ, what do you think?
I always loved Lothal because, and this is one thing I really appreciated about Rebels the first time I watched it. It looked like Ralph McQuarrie, the original concept designer, like for Star Wars 1977. It's like somebody said, let's just take everything he did and throw it at Lothal and see what sticks.
Yeah.
And that's what we get. Like Lothal as it is in Ahsoka, that first episode, you know, with that perfect, and Caleb, you said it in your breakdown on the first episode, it reminded you of Star Trek, the first one, when old Kirk is taking the car and he's listening to Sabotage by the Beastie Boys. It reminded me of that and Treasure Planet, the opening to Treasure Planet. Like I was like, this is right on the money. And so I loved seeing Lothal in the background and being reminded of those old concept art pieces. But not only that, you know, the one thing it really reminded me a lot of was what Ralph McQuarrie called Imperial City, which later became Coruscant.
Yeah.
That the very white spire towers that Lothal has as it is at the end of Rebels and in Ahsoka. It's so much like that Imperial City that McQuarrie drew initially that, you know, eventually becomes Coruscant. Now, in this case, it's all white ivory towers and it's just immaculate. I mean, you know, it's almost like it's just so funny. I saw this picture the other day. It was oil rigs somewhere in South Texas. And if you look at these oil rigs from like a distance, it looks like a whole city, but it's just oil rigs. And that's what Lothal looks like if it wasn't stained with oil. It's just all these tall spires. It's just so beautiful. So for me, the Lothal transition to live action, the city itself is just amazing. That shot of Shin in the first episode with the droids and the ship and the two probe droids.
Yeah.
So Darth Maul Phantom Menace. It was
that was cool.
1-to-1.
Yeah. I mean, it was Filoni were like, we see you. We know what you're doing. And I picked up at me. I even told Kayla, I texted him, I was like, dude, he is pretending he's directing Phantom Menace right now. This is what's happening. And I always loved the way the grass looked in Lothal, but to put this into live action the way they did, I was like, you couldn't have done this any better. As a transitional piece. So, you know, Lothal overall, come on.
Yeah, I agree.
Lothal's become a place that, like, when people say, where do you want to visit in Star Wars? I want to go there. You know, I want to go visit Lothal because it's so beautiful.
I just want to I just want to pet a loth cat, if I'm being honest.
I want no business with a loth cat. I'm gonna tell you, those things are mean.
Yeah, they are. They are. Well, next time I go to Disney, I think that's going to be one of the things I buy that I
You
didn't
should.
buy the first time that I
You
went.
should. You
But
should.
yeah, it was great to see Lothal in live action, and it just seems like across the board we all kind of agree the Rebel vibes translated beautifully. Now let's talk about something that maybe didn't translate beautifully. Divisive topic online very early in the Ahsoka release, and that was Sabine surviving a lightsaber stab. And I'm really interested and curious on where you two stand on this debate on if it bothers you, if it makes Qui-Gon's stabbing and non-surviving look bad, or because there was all kinds of takes regarding this. I don't know who I went with first last time. I don't know. Zach, take it away.
Sure.
What do you think?
I thought this was about as well done as you could get in terms of surviving a lightsaber stab
Okay.
because it was clearly off center to me. So I immediately was like, she's not dead.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's just me personally. I know not everyone feels that way. In terms of topic of discussion,
Yeah.
to me, I don't think a lightsaber stab should be fatal unless it's like
Ooh.
perfect. You're living in this
Ooh.
like fantasy magic world with force and all this stuff, and you get killed by a lightsaber stab. It better be in the heart. You know what I mean?
Ooh, that is a hot take, brother.
That's good logic. That's good logic.
That's just my logical mind where I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. And everyone's like, oh, she healed so fast. I'm like, yeah, it makes sense to me. You have these droids and all these things.
Yeah.
Like, you should get healed fast. And she, like, that discussion is where I stand on it. I'm very, science engineer guy where I'm like, oh, that would make sense. They could heal her quickly. But it doesn't take away from the Qui-Gon thing to me because that was obviously like a death punch, like right in the chest,
right in the middle
area, like you did. So that's why I say it was done well enough as it could be because it was obvious to me it wasn't a lethal stabbing.
Yeah.
So I don't know, DJ, what's your thoughts?
I'm with you. Everything you said, I totally agree with. Here's where I don't understand. Not everything I said I agree with. I should say, like the logic side of it. Like my Star Wars nerd wants to be like, but I can't acknowledge the logic of it. That ignore the logic of it. I mean, so, but I will say this: that like all bets are off when you bring back a character who was cut in half and put him on a giant spider body. Okay. All bets are off at that point. It does not matter what happens. If Darth Maul can become a giant spider robot, Sabine can survive an off-center stab wound. Okay. I mean, the difference here is like, for me, it really comes back to this idea. Dooku was beheaded. Okay. I mean, there's nobody else in Star Wars was beheaded by lightsaber in the movies. There was probably one or two people randomly in like Clone Wars, maybe. I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm sure there are.
But like, if you again, logic brain here, if you separate the head from the body, the brain dies. Okay, the brain needs oxygen. You got to have blood flow. Science, logic brain, it comes in here. Okay. People can survive from losing a limb in real life. Okay. A stab wound is not the end of the world. You're going to have a sick scar when it's done. Cool story, bro. All right. It's fine. She's fine. It's not a big deal. Qui-Gon stabbed in the gut. That man's dying. Okay. I mean,
that's my point. It's like,
he's dying.
That's why I say it was so well done. Because it's like,
Obi-Wan getting sliced.
It's if anything, here's what it is. It's Shin Hati not being as proficient with a lightsaber as Darth Maul was.
I love it. Yes.
That's what it is. And you could look at that, like you could break it down like these guys who do, color commentary for mixed martial arts, for UFC stuff. Okay. They're so good and so knowledgeable of the mixed martial arts and the idea of what's supposed to take place, where the strike is supposed to go. It's the same thing here. It's just a sword. That's the only difference.
You shouldn't have missed. Right?
Yeah, no, there's no reason for her to have missed. Somebody who has trained exactly 4 seconds with a lightsaber, give or take, obviously. This is a Padawan who's spent her whole life up to this point, probably more, I guess, training. She should have killed Sabine. It's like Hugh Yang says a few episodes later, it's fate. She was fated, or Ahsoka may have said it. she was fated to do so. It was just, that's how
Yeah.
that's the force working, and that's the non-logical element.
That's
I
the plot
suppose.
armor working.
Yeah. It's the plot armor for sure. Yeah, but if we're debating this, it seems
Sure.
it seems like a useless debate to me. And I go back to my original point, because if Darth Maul can come back and be put on a giant spotter body, anything's possible.
Okay.
I think the
yeah.
bigger issue is get over the stab wound stuff. Like,
Yeah,
just don't do it anymore.
Yeah, Obi-Wan got slashed a little bit by Dooku in Attack of the Clones. Do we ever, at any point, ever see that mentioned at all in Star Wars again? No.
Yeah.
So
and using it as a cliffhanger can't be done anymore, because it's like I don't. Let's do
Yeah.
something.
Well,
Lose a finger or something.
I would agree with that.
Keller.
if they hadn't done a 2-episode premiere and I didn't have part 2 to watch immediately after, I would have hated it. Because I had already seen the trailer. I knew Sabine survived. Like, you wasted my time this first week trying to give me a cliffhanger that Sabine's dead, when everybody that has seen the marketing knows she's not dead. So yes, I agree with you, Zach. Cliffhangers, get rid of them. And I also would say, just quit with the stabs overall. Personally, I would say I think the plot of Sabine recovering from the injury and having the realization that she wants to get back in the mix can still be served by her getting one of those Obi-Wan slashes to the arm.
Take her hand. Just take her hand.
Yeah, I would say just to
get
avoid
like Kylo Ren, where you get nicked.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Anything.
Yeah, like you don't have to stab, just like on the arm, like a cut. It's like, ooh, whoa,
Yeah.
you almost died.
I don't mind it, but just for the sake of it, I don't feel like it's necessary to do that, if that makes sense.
I think it's totally fair. I mean, that's totally fair.
Yep. But anyway, good topic of discussion. We could probably
Let us know
on
in the comments
a little bit for that
watching,
one. Yeah.
Or if you're listening to podcasts, what do you think? I want to know, because like I see it still to this day on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's like people going on about the stabbing stuff. It's like,
Yeah, they are. Well, next up, because that was all part 1. That was all the main topics of discussion for part 1. Part 2, Toil and Trouble. I just got one here prepared. Sabine decides to become Ahsoka's apprentice yet again, as she is picked up on Lothal at the Ghost Crew mural. Of course, immediately then, big topic of discussion this season was, is this scene a recreation of the Rebels finale moment where Ahsoka shows up, or is it just a completely different scene? I'll offer my take real quickly. It's 100% a recreation. It's not a different scene. This is the moment in the Rebels finale, and that's where we take off from there. DJ, what do you think, though?
Yeah, it's a recreation. You know, it's a couple of small changes. Obviously, she's not in white, and she's not holding a staff. I think it's okay, because you got to remember this thing came out, I think it ended in 2017 or something, or no, it's not right. I can't remember.
I think it was 18.
Okay, so 2018. It's been a few years. It's been 5 years. Okay. Filoni didn't probably have a full story mapped out for Ahsoka at that point. He just knew, I want to get her from being this nomadic Jedi to a Gandalf the White. That's what he wanted to do, and I would imagine he regrets, trying to jump in that gun, if you will, to get to that point in Rebels.
I mean,
but
in 2018, the landscape of Star Wars storytelling is totally different.
It was, and that's just with thinking about Rogue One had come out 2 years prior, and trying to figure out what's going on with The Last Jedi and going into Rise of Skywalker. I mean, everything's different at that point. So he's eventually getting to a place. He just kind of threw it in there a little early, and I don't hold it against him. If anybody does, it's like there are bigger things to argue about, even in Star Wars. So, like, if you're still one of those, you don't like it, let's just kind of say, move on. Zach?
Agreed.
Okay.
All right.
It is a recreation. He wanted to finish up his story when he was telling it. That's completely okay with me. And it was like the smallest little retcon on earth that she's not wearing the white. And as we watch the story unfold, I'm glad she wasn't.
Yeah.
Then we don't get all of the characters.
Right. Yeah.
At that point,
I mean, talking about recreation, like, well done. Like, immediately, I was like, all right, I know what this is.
Yeah. And I'm just glad I rewatched that finale to Rebels a couple times before Ahsoka came out, because as soon as that second episode ends, it's like, okay, All right.
Well, Keller sent me the list. I finished it the day before, I think. Was it the day
Ooh.
before?
Yeah, it
So
was. It was the day because I was starting to get really concerned that you weren't going to finish that list.
I cranked out like 3 or 4 seasons, three seasons in like a couple of days.
Really concerned.
Impressive. Very most impressive.
It was one of those things where I wanted to like kind of go into it with full momentum. And
Sure.
I waited a little long, but hey, it was great.
Well, I rewatched the Rebels finale to the minute before Ahsoka dropped, so I was like fresh with the Lethal. Yeah, it was pretty fresh. Cool. It was pretty fresh. All right, moving on to the next episode, Part 3, Time to Fly. Huyang and Ahsoka continue the training of Sabine. Obviously, though, I want to pause here and get your thoughts on Huyang in the show, but also then we'll talk about the decision to tell the story that anyone can connect with the Force. So let's start with Huyang. I mean, I feel like this droid in Clone Wars, like, he was just there for me personally. Like, yeah, he was really cool, but here in Ahsoka, like, Huyang is now top tier droid, in my opinion. Zach, what do you think?
Favorite droid.
Favorite droid.
Rocket shipped up to my favorite.
Wow. Okay.
The lore behind him, the everything about this character has just made me so happy. Everything he says is picture perfect. Like I said, the history of him is fascinating to me, and just the performance of David Tennant, also incredible. Like the emotions he gives in this robot is droid. Excuse me. So good. So good.
Straight. It was good.
I don't use those same terms.
DJ, what'd you think of Huyang?
The word robot is actually used only once in all of Star Wars, and it's in A New Hope by Luke Skywalker.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a fun fact. Anyway, Huyang, I gave I can't say no rip. I gave very little care for him. You know, like I saw leaked, trailer footage from Celebration, and like a lot of us did, and I was like, oh, that's the guy from Clone Wars. I was initially excited because I was like, okay, yeah, I know that droid. Yeah. And then I was like, well, he obviously survives Order 66. I mean, it's not like, do we need another Order 66 background story where Huyang escapes with that spaceship?
No, we don't.
No, but here's the thing that I love about his character is I know he can hold his own, because without arms, he like roundhouse kicks like 14 pirates in that one Clone Wars episode.
Right.
So like there's things about him that I like, and bringing him into this, it like my favorite thing, and I'm wearing my droids hat tonight. Shout out Gavin, my brother gave me this. Yep. The thing about Huyang that I love is in that later episode when they're traveling to Peridia inside the whale. And she's like, and Ahsoka says, you know what, go ahead and tell me one of those stories. And he does what everybody kind of was hoping would happen a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Yeah. And it's like, how else do you begin a story for a Jedi child? Sure. Which is not who Ahsoka is at this point, but she's that Padawan part of her still there, obviously. Yeah. So for me, it's like, it's getting back to this idea that George Lucas set up with R2-D2 and C-3PO. The narrative of Star Wars is told through the view of a droid. So like, why are C-3PO and R2-D2 at Padme and Anakin's wedding? It's a way to continue telling the story, that it gets passed on. And, that's what Huyang does here. He brings that kind of full circle. And I think Dave Filoni knew what he was doing when he had him say that teal blue, ellipses sentence we all love. I think that he did that on purpose. And
one moment that he gives us so many good moments here of just like being a perfect mentor and guidance and a droid. Like,
it's the closest a droid could get to being a Jedi. And
it is.
That's what I love. Yeah.
When he's like mourning Ahsoka.
It's rough, Sabine, man.
Dude, it's
tough.
Like, he rides the line of being the droid where he's kind of dry, but like you can feel it that he actually is hurting. Yeah, like
it was the delivery. Yeah, it was the delivery of that line that was what did
and
it.
And C-3PO hits those notes in the original trilogy a few times, but not very often. And it's
not like this. I got
not like that.
I would agree. It's definitely elevated here for sure.
And that's all David Tennant, man. Like that is
it is
all, and the I give them props too. The CGI people, like making him look good. Wow, dude.
Mhm.
He
Was
looks
it,
real.
but was it CGI?
I don't know. I need a
I think
a
a
Disney
lot of points was
gallery.
not. There's
Well,
no way.
only
Dude.
reason I would even argue that it's not CGI is because C-3PO was a puppet in Phantom
Yeah,
Menace.
I don't think it was. I don't think it
I
was
think
CGI.
the only time it was is when he's doing the
Yeah,
train.
Oh yeah, sure.
yeah. But there are
yeah.
definitely times where I'm like, that's got to be
A real
practical.
thing.
That's
Got
him.
it.
Yeah, it's got to be.
He's him. Yeah.
Keller, what's your thought?
He's him.
Oh, Huang, phenom.
Yeah.
Phenom. I mean,
Phenom.
I
I
love
him.
the droid. Absolutely. And I mean, I can see in the future, you know how Disney likes to release like little shorts of droids telling stories. I think Huang's up next. He'll be
dude,
he'll be the guy
he
to
could
tell
be
some
like
tell some
the
things.
Tales of the Jedi, or what is it called that the kids show is? I don't remember.
Young
the name.
Jedi Adventures.
Yes, my daughter loves that show.
Yeah, he needs to be in that show for sure.
And so he needs to
That'd
be
be
telling
cool.
stories in that show. Come on.
That'd be cool. And they all need to start with a long time ago in a galaxy
Yes.
far, far away.
And then it ends with Anakin.
Oh,
fair.
Did you see where that takes place? It takes place in the High Republic era.
Yes.
So like
yes.
Yes.
so
yeah.
so Anakin can't kill those children.
That's true. That's true.
just
I forgot about
It's
that.
a good
Yoda's
thing.
there. He's all over it. He's in like
Yeah, he
every
is.
episode.
That's true.
But I love the show. It's great. It's perfect for them. They love it.
Yeah.
So, cool.
Well, the next thing that I had here was the story of anyone can connect with the Force with Sabine. I know I shared on the podcast very passionately that I feel like that when Star Wars is telling a powerful story like that, that anyone can fight through adversity. It's not necessarily about talent alone, but it's about you just putting your nose down and doing the things that you got to do to get the job done. And I feel very passionate about that story of Sabine being able to connect to the Force is vital to Star Wars, if I'm being honest. But I feel like there's still people out there that heavily disagree. So I'm anxious to see what you guys think. We'll start with you, DJ. What did you think of the story they were trying to tell with Sabine?
The story they're trying to tell with Sabine is beautiful. If you will go and watch that 7-minute documentary that they did right before the big Anakin Skywalker episode, you know, that they talk about that in there, that idea of master and apprentice. So that Filoni knew what he was doing. Okay. First and foremost. Secondly, my main point, as far as anybody can connect with the Force, Count Dooku and Asajj Ventress in Clone Wars actively train a Dathomirian male to become a type of Sith Lord. And later he teams up with Darth Maul, and you've got, you know, Savage Opress doing his thing, you know, also Clancy Brown, you know, so that's cool. So I was like, yeah, okay, Count Dooku teaches him, you just have to feel for it. You have to just try to connect. And it's a whole episode in Clone Wars. So like, why anybody who's seen Clone Wars is upset about the Sabine thing, it means nothing to me. And then today I was rewatching the Anakin episode, and you know, Hera is being taught how to connect with the Force by Jason, her son. So you see there's elements of this, not just with Sabine, it's also with Hera. And that's the beauty of the Force in Star Wars, is that everybody's like sort of kind of aware of it. You know, like I know that you could get into semantics on that, and I'm very aware of the different stories that don't have anything to do with the Force and those who may or may not know about it. But ultimately, the Force is this universal religion in Star Wars, and people know about it. It's not like it's going under the radar and only Jedi know about it. So
right, yeah,
it's something important to remember. And the best I think thing to remember is the Guardians of the Wills, Chirrut Imwe and Baze Malbus and Rogue One. You know,
Yeah.
they're aware of the Force. They're kind of like Force worshipers. So, you know, getting a little religious here for a second, but I'm trying to just make the point that anybody can connect with the Force. Chirrut Imwe, he might not connect with the Force, but the Force is definitely moving laser bolts around him when he goes to hit the kill switch or whatever.
The Force is working through him. Yes,
exactly. And that's the beauty of using the Force as a story method. Sabine, it works. Hera, it works. You know, those Rogue One characters, it works. You know, Clone Wars, it works too. So I've got no issue with it. I just want to give my explanation as to why I don't have an issue with it. If that's okay.
Yeah.
I know it's a little long winded. I'm sorry.
That was great. I think it is clear as day that it works like sports. I'm never going to be LeBron James, but I can go shoot a basketball.
Very
Same
simple. I
thing.
like
There
that.
you go.
I like
I mean,
that.
I don't know
Bullet.
how there's any issue with this
R.I.P.
idea. We've seen it in The Last Jedi. When Luke tells Rey she's up on the rock and she sees everything going past her and she's like, I feel it. That is clear as day to me. It's like, it's everywhere, man. Everyone, like,
Yeah.
yes. And Ahsoka, I love that she says it like this, where she's like, yeah, some are more attuned to it. That makes sense, right? Yeah, some people are better at sports. Some people are better at math. Some people are better at English.
Yeah.
That just makes sense to me. So the fact that maybe the Jedi have kind of honed it and worked on it, right? They've worked on their craft, and maybe some are more powerful than others. Anakin, super powerful from the womb, like Michael Jordan from the womb, just amazing
Yeah.
sports.
Yeah.
Like it's just that is so clear to me.
Yeah.
And I wanted to you bring up Clone Wars. If you watch Rebels, they call out like, "Hey, she can do something with the Force here," and he's like, "No, she's too stubborn." Like,
Oh
Kanan,
yeah. Yeah. And the
Yeah, the
trials
trials
of
of the
dark
dark saber. Yeah,
yeah,
Good,
so
good
100%.
Kanan
set
literally calls it out.
episodes.
He's like, yeah, she could, but she's too stubborn. She's not going to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just thought all of that was clear to me. I loved talking about Sabine specifically. Loved how they did it. They
Yeah.
faked us out a couple times, and it made sense. It's like she shouldn't get it immediately. Like, don't. But
One more thing on that, talking about Sabine, I think you mentioned the stubbornness comment from Kanan
Mhm.
in those episodes. It's almost like Mandalore being destroyed was a good in one way a good thing for her, because she always had Mandalore to fall back on in Rebels, even if she had that disconnect from her family. So you get this option where it Mandalore's gone and everybody's in these splinter factions, as we've learned from the Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. It's like, okay, that's happening. She wants no part of it because of whatever reason. Now that we know she was training to become a Jedi, it's like you remove that element, and then the stubbornness has nowhere to fall
100%.
back.
It's the
So
Balin thing. It's like, yeah, I like the idea of it,
yeah,
right? But
yeah,
no, it's not useful. Like
yeah.
me being I'm Mandalorian. I'm not gonna try to touch out to the Force because that is kind of like a sensitive thing, right? You're
Yeah.
opening yourself up to these feelings that they are not accustomed to. And so I just think it all makes sense. I don't know why anyone would have any issue with it. Now,
Sabine.
I could
No,
see it
go ahead.
being a slippery slope. Don't get me wrong. Like
It could be.
if she looked down and then moved the cup immediately, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, I would have. I was really hoping in those moments. Please don't move the cup. Please don't move the
Yes.
cup.
And then when
And
she's
then
like,
later in the episode, when she's trying to break out of the pretty little temple
yes,
prison,
yes.
and she was apparently opening the door, I was like, please don't open the door.
I know. I was like, please don't do it. It's too early. And I loved the moment where she, with all her might, barely moves the lightsaber enough to save her.
Yeah.
And it's not some crazy thing. Now, the force push thing,
We're going to talk about that.
that's the slippery slope I'm
I
talking
think we're
about.
going to talk
We'll
about that eventually, for sure.
get there.
For sure. But overall, the story of anyone can connect to the Force, conceptually, beautiful story. Phenomenal story.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
The final thing that I want to discuss regarding part 3 was the Purgle. The Purgle arrive. So here's an opportunity for us to just talk about, did we enjoy their massive aid to the plot, and not necessarily just restricted to this one episode, but for the entire season. I adored the Purgle, and I thought they looked great. Now, those were complete CGI created things going on here. Couple times maybe in space they looked iffy, specifically when they eventually, I think in the next episode, go around the New Republic cruiser. Maybe their little tentacles there at the end. Yeah, maybe a little fake. But overall, the Purgle, the way they were treated, the way it connected to Rebels, I adored it all. DJ, what did you think of the Purgle?
Love the Purgle.
The space whales.
I love star whales. They're my new favorite
Star
thing.
whales, that's right. That's the correct
yeah.
term now, I guess.
Yeah, it's my new. I mean, they're space whales, but like everybody I knew who watched it, who watched Ahsoka, they were like space whales, and then I got texts. I got like 4 or 5 texts from family and friends like space whales, space whales, space whales. Yeah, I've been knowing about the space whales. Like I haven't heard anybody say anything but negative about the Purgle.
I agree.
Well,
I agree.
actually, rewind. I have heard a few negative things, but
Yeah,
like
I've heard negatives.
I disregard it because I'm like, you're dumb. There's a giant slug who's a crime lord. Okay,
Fair.
Yeah.
shut up.
We're in space, dude.
You know,
with the
like,
Force. Come
You know,
on, man.
but Caleb, you have the best Pergil story from this season, and you texted it to me the other day.
I do.
And you go ahead, please tell it.
Yeah, no,
I
was
love
just.
this.
I mean, my employer, if you will, walks it up to me and asks, so in Star Wars, there's space whales that can travel through light speed now. What the heck?
I mean, dude, like thinking about
It's really out there for a casual viewer. I will say it's probably really, really, really out there to them.
When you told me about this, I said, so what's it like being an entire staff's foremost leader on Star Wars knowledge? And your exact text to me was pretty great, not gonna lie. Like, and I think that to your credit, that's cool that people come up to you like, so you're telling me, like, that's cool. But because of a whale with tentacles, that's cool. And I love Pergil. That's it.
Dude, I love the Pergil as well. Everything about them was great. They looked great. I loved Ahsoka touching out to them and like
that was cool. Yes,
and all that stuff that worked great for me.
Good Ezra call.
I knew immediately what was gonna happen. Like literally, like okay, they're gonna use the Pergil to get to the thing.
Yeah. I just wish they would have digested the ship and pooped them out instead of just coming out.
Maybe. But I will say again, we're talking about history before the podcast. The lore of the Pergil is
great stuff, man.
So cool. Like, I mean, the fact that, this is where they go to die and then they have the like creepy ring of dead, that's
cool, man.
So cool.
That was cool.
It reminded me of the elephant graveyard from Lion.
100% the elephant graveyard.
Like, exactly, but it was different because, like, I mean, yes, there's still a chase scene happening in a boneyard, but like, it's
so eerie, man.
It's cool because it's in space.
It immediately sets the tone. Cool. You're like,
yeah.
You're like, what is this?
I think it's Thrawn who says this is where it was Balin says this is where they come to die. And it's like, you start to think about migratory patterns of different species.
And then you're like, wait, did they just like give up their life to get them here? Kind of a thing?
They did. It was, I viewed that kind of as a self-sacrificial thing.
And that's what I thought too. And then
I didn't think
they were like, I'm out. There's bombs. I'm out.
Yeah. I didn't think that they were just like sacrificially taking them there at any point.
When he said this is where they come to die, I thought maybe they only got like one jump. Like, okay, you get one jump. I see. Like that's what I thought at first.
So then we're maybe potentially assumed to believe that the bones out there are the Pergil that brought Ezra and Thrawn potentially.
Yeah, I would believe that. Yeah.
Okay. I'm in on that.
I would hope that while we're on the subject, I would hope that in Ahsoka season 2, there's some form of I thought we'd get a bunch of flashbacks in this season. We clearly didn't, but I would like to see some sort of a flashback of how Thrawn and Ezra arrive at Peridia, and that little aftermath of that. That'd be nice.
I don't
need it, but it'd be cool.
I'm the reverse of you. I don't want to know. Don't tell me.
See,
because it's going to be dumb.
One criticism that I have of this season is the fact that we didn't get any explanation between the Thrawn Ezra dynamic. Like none.
Because
period. None.
I like not knowing, because how do you tell me they're on the same ship together and then somehow they're completely different places? Like he like ran out of the ship after the Pergil got there. Like, I don't want to know. Because it's going to be dumb.
Because it's probably going to be clunky, is what you're saying.
I never considered the fact that there were stormtroopers and weapons on that Star Destroyer when they left. So in my little headcanon all this time, I was thinking, oh, it's just Thrawn and Ezra having to survive somewhere. And
exactly same place, dude. I did not think about how massive this ship actually was.
Yeah.
When you see all the troopers and the ties and everything, and you're like, oh crap. And
then to listen to Thrawn's, and I know we're skipping ahead, but when you listen to Thrawn's like his strategizing and how many squads he sends out, and it's like he's being very careful with the numbers because he knows what he has. Yeah. I've only read like half of one Thrawn book, but I know enough about Thrawn to know he's calculating. He makes sure he has all of his ducks in a row before he utilizes them, and very clearly done. I don't know how we got here from the Pergil, but either way,
it all comes together.
Yeah, it all comes back.
But all that to say, it's cool stuff.
Pergil were cool.
Yeah, Pergil were cool.
I like Pergil.
All right, well, part 4, Fallen Jedi. A couple of things here. Carson Teva, he joins in, becomes a solid piece to this season. Of course, the question is, was this necessary or unnecessary? Did it just seem like a Mandalorian fan service kind of thing, or did it actually serve the plot? For me, I think it's welcomed to have these overarching characters that connect. Obviously, this is a Mandoverse. I feel like that's been a fan-labeled name that has just kind of become legit. This is a Mandoverse story that they're trying to tell, and they're going to try to summarize with a movie. So you got to start connecting these shows in some way. And I feel like Carson Teva is a perfect, like, middle level, not like a primary character, but a perfect little middle level character to serve that purpose. What did you think about Carson Teva's use there, Zach?
Agreed. Why not? Why can't he be a part of it? Right? He's a perfect kind of vessel to show, hey, this is the same world. Here's the timeline. Here's where we sit on things. Mm-hmm. I thought he was very well done, not overused. I thought it was great.
And can we talk about the line where Huyang's like sharing to him that Jason's like force sensitive or something, and he's just like,
all right.
Okay.
Yeah. Incredible.
The delivery was so good.
Delivery was great. But also, that's how it would be. Just be like,
yeah, no, he's just like, whatever. Okay.
It's like,
DJ,
it's almost as if Carson Teva has like rubbed elbows with Luke Skywalker at some point. He's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I know a Jedi. That's fine. You know?
Well, no, that's like, he's the audience is what he is.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Well, as far as him, as far as him being like a connective tissue through the Mandoverse, I do agree with that. He's kind of like our Agent Coulson, if you 100%. Remember that Phase 1 of Marvel. I used to think that Peli Motto from Mando was kind of going to be that person.
Ooh, yeah, I'm glad it's not.
And I'm glad too. I don't really want to see Peli Motto anymore. You know,
I like Peli Motto, guys.
I like that actress. She's awesome. I think she's a funny person. It's just I'm kind of Peli Motto'd out. We went to Tatooine too much. Is really my point.
Yeah, we kind of did.
But Carson Teva serves as a better connective tissue. Because, well, one, he's got a spaceship. He doesn't really have a home planet. He doesn't really have anything tying him down. The rebels can be like, hey, or the Republic now can just send him out and do something. He comes back, no big deal. I believe he wasn't in Mando season 1, but he's been there since season 2. And so for him, I don't think he was in Mando 1. I can't remember. But I based that on the fact that in the trailers for Mando 2, it was his voice saying, Razor Crest, stand down, you know,
right. Yeah.
All that. But like all that to say, he's been here for basically since the beginning. And he serves as that Agent Coulson type of character. He's aware of what's going on. He's not really a guide, but he's, you know, and so I really don't want him to end up, and this is where the tangent could come in. I don't want him to end up like Agent Coulson and just be outed.
Sure.
You know? I want to see him kind of continue. Now, if he dies a really nice sacrificial death, I'm cool with that. Like, you know, I'm thinking of what's his name from Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker, who got killed off. I can't remember his name now, but it doesn't matter. I want the sacrifice to look good if that's what happens. If it doesn't happen, that's fine. I don't care. I think it's cool that he serves this kind of a role. It's really
well, and you made a great point there. I mean, Carson Teva is one of those unique characters that he's now connected to Din Djarin's story. He's connected to Ahsoka's story. He's connected to the New Republic and the political landscape of the galaxy. So he's the character of all of these shows that could easily appear in every single one of them because he's connected on so many different levels. So give me all the Carson Teva. Give it all to me.
Great he's fine.
All right. And it's such a kind actor too.
Yeah,
he does a great job with
he's
what
phenomenal.
He's given.
Yes,
great job.
Phenomenal. Well, the other talking
Avatar
point
thing. I saw a picture of him today. Sorry to cut you off there, Keller. He looks.
Is he Uncle Iroh?
He is.
Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry, low-key Nickelodeon kid nerding out over here. Don't mind me.
All good.
It's awesome.
Good.
Okay, well, the next and last thing for part 4, we got to talk about Merrick. I'm surprised we're getting to part 4 and we're just now bringing this dude up. Well, the theories that came with this character. Did we like the reveal of Merrick just seemingly being a Night Sister creation? I know there were so many different theories. Like I'm talking, obviously Galen Merrick, the Force Unleashed character portrayed by Sam Witwer. We're talking. I even heard like, and I know it's kind of connected to Galen Merrick, but like a completely new character, but was the secret apprentice to Vader, and there was going to be some interesting connection with Merrick being an apprentice to Vader and Ahsoka being an apprentice to Anakin, and they were going to duke it out because of their connection there. But at the end of the day, it's just a completely new dude created by Night Sister magic, seemingly never confirmed, but I'm assuming because of the green smoke that comes out of him, it is in fact Night Sister magic. What did we think of that reveal? What did we think of Merrick? I'll go ahead and say I was really glad it was Night Sister magic, if I'm being honest. Didn't really need all those connections. DJ, what you think?
Yeah, I mean, I was convinced ish, lightly convinced that he was Ezra for a while.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot that one. That was another popular theory.
Yeah, I didn't really want him to be Ezra. I just wanted to I stoked a lot of comment section flames with that one because I thought it was funny.
Admittedly, that would have made no sense.
And I have no regrets about that, by the way. So for anybody who's listening who may or may not have seen me comment that somewhere, I never really meant it, but there's a part of me that kind of was like, it'd be kind of funny. Like, I don't know. I just thought it but having said all that, I'm cool with the reveal. I mean, it's funny because I remember thinking this character's awesome. We're going to love him forever. And now I haven't thought about him twice since he was killed.
I know. I really haven't either.
And so I'm just like, well, I mean, he was fun for a minute and now he's gone. It's like, yeah, okay, no, whatever.
It was fun. It was a fun talking point. I'm glad we got him out of the way, honestly.
I think you just summed him up. I mean, I'm glad he wasn't important because he's not important.
Yeah, I mean, he's bait and switch. That's all
Rest
it was.
in peace, Merrick. You're not
to
important,
be fair
dude.
to Filoni, I don't even think it was a bait and switch. I think it was all set up to show the Dark Sister stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
It was.
I
mean, that's what I mean by bait and switch.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't think they tried to lead us on that he's someone crazy. That was all just fan bull crap. That was all just us or
Filoni's just sitting at home, just laughing, just giggling.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
just wait. He's gonna be green smoke, and y'all gonna be like, what? That's what I mean. And I thought it was great. I thought he was cool. He was interesting enough. And then he gets murked, which was a great moment for Ahsoka.
Yeah, it was.
He's cool. It's cool. Brings magic into the world that for people who don't know that history. What is this? So I thought all the boxes were checked for him. I like it.
It's I think it also serves as potential people that Thrawn and the Night Sisters could use in maybe season 2 or the Filoni movie. Like if Elsbeth had the ability to create Merrick, or we don't even know if she's the one that did it or not, but if they need Force users, a lightsaber on battlefield, just whip up the magic real quick. And
we know he has some sort of the Force because his lightsaber goes crazy and he goes and grabs it. Unless he's got a magnet or something. But
no, and I guess that would probably open up the debate of, is it the Force or is it the magic that the
that's true.
Kind
it
of
could
instilled
be
in?
I was about to say that. Yeah,
I think they kind of play in with each other though. I mean, at the end of the day, it's similar concept. It just depends on how you use it.
It's just it's a dark interpretation. It's just not interpretation, manipulation. It's all Force manipulation is what it is. It's just tapping into something that is not pure, whereas it is, kind of a corrupted thing.
Sure. All right. Well, see you later, Merrick. Next. All right. We move on to part 5, Shadow Warrior. And of course, this is the episode where you need the tissues. And I don't know, you probably needed to stretch after the episode if you're like me, running around, jumping up and down, screaming, crying, all of the emotions, really. We get Anakin Skywalker. We get the World Between Worlds. We get Clone Wars flashbacks. We get Darth Vader. We get a final lesson from Anakin to Ahsoka. All of it. I gotta ask, how did this land for us now that we're almost maybe a month away since we got this episode? How do we feel about it now? Zach, I'm eager to hear your thoughts on this because I know our initial interaction regarding this in the text were, man, it was cool, but that lesson, a little confusing. But I think maybe we ended up texting through that. But just go ahead, drop your thoughts here.
Yeah,
and we'll
so
work
I did text
now.
Keller immediately after this and was like, why did we have to see that? Not that I didn't like it, but I was like, what's the point other than seeing Anakin? And he made me saw the light. He made me understand what was going on. And after that, in a rewatch, so I've seen it 4 times now.
Yeah, I don't even know how many times.
man, this worked so well for me. Not even like, not to start, I didn't mean to start negative there. That was like a little nitpick. Everything else here was absolutely incredible. We get my favorite shot in all of Star Wars, potentially, with the walk away shot with the cutback.
Yes.
If you'd have been in my bedroom, you'd have thought I'd won like the Super Bowl. I was going, no, what? It's so sick. I'm like, Taylor, look at this. I'm rewinding it. I'm like, look at this shot. It's so cheesy, but it's so perfect. I knew exactly what they were going to do. And just the story, we get to see Anakin in the Clone Wars kind of era. We get to see Ahsoka through the years. The shots of the battles, and like we get to see enough, but not too much. And it's just like, everything about this scene almost makes me go, he had this first and built the show around this, because it was so perfect. Like, he had to have had this in his journal for a long time, and then was like, I need an excuse to put this to screen. Let's do a live action and build a world around it. Like, it blew me away. It blew me away. That's all I can say.
DJ?
You know, that reminds me, George Lucas has gone on record and saying that the hardest part of any story to write is the middle. And if Filoni did attack that first, that's impressive. If that's where he began and worked everything.
I don't know. That's just me.
That's a good thought. I think that's a good thought. The weird thing about having not been on Mando Talk for so long is that I've been able to separate myself away from predictions and jumping so heavily into the speculation, side of things. And I've told Caleb this. He texted one day. I was like, he asked me if I had any predictions. I was like, no, I don't have any, because I've just been enjoying the show. It's been a long time since I've been able to just sit and enjoy it. And so for me, you said that you texted me, Caleb, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you like, I'm crying. Like, you're like, after this episode. And I can honestly say I didn't cry, not because I wasn't emotional over it. Like, Star Wars does get me emotional. I have cried on this show. I stand by those tears. But I say that I didn't cry here because I just was smiling.
Sure.
I just, like Obi-Wan, the show Obi-Wan gave me that kind of like prequel kid, like I can tear up if I want to kind of feeling. This was just like I could just watch this as a fan. So that for me was the biggest thing. I could go another 2 hours just on this one thing easily. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
So I'll obviously, none of us want that. I'm just gonna say that.
I mean, I want that, but life.
You don't want
the show.
No, you don't. Yeah, no, you don't want any part of that.
What is this? Episode 4? Episode 5? No, episode 5.
I'll say this and I'll move on. This meant a lot to me as a kid who wanted to be Anakin Skywalker. Like I so vividly remember wanting to be Anakin Skywalker that to this day, if I just let my mind slip into that part of my life for a minute, I'm 7, 8, 9 years old, 10 years old again in the yard with a lightsaber, on the trampoline with a lightsaber. I'm still that, I can get back into that mindset very quickly. So this meant a lot to me just as a prequel kid. And seeing Anakin wield a red lightsaber was so
that
dope.
was a dream come true.
It was like, that's what, and you mentioned the back and forth Vader Anakin thing. You liked the walk away. I liked the walking toward.
Well, I didn't want to. Yeah, no, I didn't want to.
Shoulders.
He does that where he gets that Henry Cavill, like
the Henry Cavill, exactly.
And it's like
exactly that. And,
so
and his voice changes. The audio is so good, right there.
So good.
And then he goes for it's good. It's so good, and
it's cheesy though, right?
Yeah,
like come on.
I never felt that it was cheesy.
Yeah, I never felt that way either.
I very much felt like Anakin as a Force ghost has this weird ability to just slip back and forth.
Okay.
Because he's going dark. He's redeemed. Don't get that twisted. He just has this ability to pull in from his past in a certain way that allows for the story to be told, that didn't let Ahsoka know what she needs to know. It's almost as if like, it's kind of, okay, hear me out on this. Oh my gosh, I told y'all we go forever on this. I want it to, this is what I wanted to happen for Kylo Ren. Okay. When he has the helmet and he's essentially like praying to Vader, grandfather, hear me, blah, blah, blah. I wanted this with Ahsoka to become that story arc in 8 and 9. That's what I wanted for the sequels. But Disney was too afraid of the prequels to bring them into the sequels because they were too worried about all the hate, not thinking about people our age who grew up with it, too focused on our parents, that generation.
Yeah.
So okay, I'm gonna move on. Anyway, this is what I wanted. It didn't get it. I got it here, and it's perfect. I got it here, or we got it here because it's Ahsoka. It's Ahsoka, and
I think
that's the best thing.
I would say it's better served here. I mean, Ahsoka being the apprentice of Anakin Skywalker.
It is better served here. It's just if you have the familial connection from Anakin to Leia to Ben, it's like, why wouldn't you play into that?
Right.
He's the grandson of the chosen one. Whatever. I'm done.
Yeah. No. Well, and I do before we move on because I know this was something that me and you texted about. DJ was. Is Anakin true? Is this Force Ghost Anakin, or is this all an illusion in Ahsoka's head, or is it a mixture of both? Where do we land on that?
I think it's truly him as a Force Ghost. Otherwise, he wouldn't have shown up at the end. Okay. There's no reason for to have Hayden be a Force Ghost in episode 8, if he's not a Force Ghost in episode 5. Okay. Having said that, I think that's where he is. I don't think it's a manipulation. I think he is in the world between worlds via Force ghosty stuff.
Okay.
That's what I think's happening.
Okay.
And if it's not, then somebody better give me a real good explanation.
I've just kind of him at the end.
Yeah.
I would not agree with you. I would think it's all in her head. But the fact that we get him at the end made me rethink that maybe that was him.
I see, and I still think it's a mixture personally. Because if it's in and I've stood by this, and I know it's pulling in Harry Potter, but that quote of just because it's in your head doesn't mean it's not real.
Yeah,
I still feel like a lot of this is in Ahsoka's head, but
the precedent
Anakin
of the
can
world
still
between
present
worlds
himself.
Being real space though that Ezra goes into. And Anakin, and we see him at the end. It's like all of that together leads me to go, well, daggum, maybe.
Well, and I'm still debating too. Is that the world? I know it's supposed to be the world between worlds, and it's portrayed that way. But is it behaving the way that the world between worlds that we know prior to this show?
Yeah,
I don't know. Say the same thing for the Sabine stab. Is it behaving the same way? Because if and not to belabor the point, but if Sabine can get stabbed nearly in the gut and survive, that can still be the world between worlds, just from a different point of view.
Oh sure, yeah, no, I'm saying I think it is the world between worlds, but I'm saying I think there's probably an angle where you could say, well, was it true? Was Ahsoka truly visiting it, or was it all Force working?
I thought it was all in her head.
No, I think she's there. She's in it. Otherwise, she would have drowned.
I think she.
But she is drowning, and then it's the lesson that wakes her up.
I suppose when it raises is when she goes kind of out of the portal. If you want to go Rebels version of it, right? Like she gets pulled in and then pulled out, and that's when it lifts up.
Well, and that's
Keller and I talked about this before, and we were both on the point of in her head.
Yeah, I think it's a mixture because I think it's Ahsoka. I think she's in the water drowning, and she's having this lesson of, are you going to fight to survive, or are you not going to fight to survive and just sink there? And she fights to survive, and she comes back too.
I see what you're saying, but the Force itself has Ahsoka in its grip, because I'm going to the last episode, just forgive me. She's the daughter from the Mortis arc. That's who she is. So the Force is saying, open up the portal, let her talk to the father, Anakin, and get her back on track, so that when she eventually is Force raptured, or disappears or whatever, becomes a Force ghost, that she can now move into this role as the daughter, and she can help with the balance of the Force with Anakin. I'm going into the weird Force lore. I know you're wanting to save that for the last episode talk, but that's why it's a portal. That's why it's a portal.
No, that's fair.
I don't think it matters. to be honest.
No, it
Yeah, it probably-
matters.
I don't think
probably
it does.
doesn't. It probably
It
doesn't.
probably doesn't.
I
Filoni's
think
he's
the
gonna
whole
bait and
point of
switch
that
us again.
is not. Maybe it's all the Mortis God stuff that I am not looking forward to. Let's throw that out
I
there.
am. I think it's.
I am
awesome.
not. That is dumb. But let's get into it
Ooh,
later.
hot take.
Yeah,
Hot
we'll get
take.
into it later.
Ooh.
That doesn't matter. Like the whole point of that was to her to come out and be white Ahsoka. That was the whole point of that whole thing.
Yeah, but also no.
100% the point.
But also no.
What's the other point? What's the other reason?
Everything I just said.
Cameo of Anakin. That's the other reason.
No. I mean, yes, but no.
Like, come on, let's call it what it is. Right?
It's Mortis stuff. I'm telling you, it's Mortis stuff.
I'm afraid you're right. And
You
then I'm
shouldn't
gonna
be.
have to
It's
like go tell
awesome.
my wife, hey, there's all this dumb stuff from this other thing you got to know about.
No, I think that I think
I don't think
I think they'll
I-
explain all that really well in the future.
I don't think part 5. I don't think these moments with Anakin are connecting to Mortis personally either.
Ooh, I can't wait for y'all to be wrong one day.
I agree.
I mean, I would
hope it's
I would
not.
love
Just
to
let
be
it
wrong.
this thing. Let it
I would
be her
love
surviving,
to
loving
be
the Force.
wrong. But Star Wars up to this point has always been it's right there in front of you, the story.
It's the same thing as Ezra and Thrawn. What happened to them? I don't want to know about the father and the son and the dark side and the light side and
Now
her
I
being the
disagree with
daughter.
that.
I don't want to know any of that
Man.
stuff, man.
I disagree with that.
I'm out. I don't care.
I don't know if this is because like I'm professionally a pastor, but like I want to know about that stuff. Like the God aspect of it is so alluring to me.
Sure.
And I feel like I would feel the same way if I was doing like a deep dive study on like a Greek mythology. You know, I think it'd be the same concept for me. I think Filoni's pulling in those elements.
It makes
you know?
it too serious for me. I like it fun and whimsical.
I mean, I love the fun and whimsy, but I like to sometimes, let's get a little philosophical. I'm okay with that. And
Yeah, I am too.
That's
and
fair.
it's fun. It's a fun kind of philosophy.
They're gonna have to nail it because
I'm with you.
The 1% of Clone
Agreed.
Wars viewers saw that end scene and knew nothing about what happened.
No, you're absolutely right.
So they better nail it if they.
Yeah,
get
they're
it.
gonna have to. Absolutely.
That's why I'm so scared. Dude.
I'm with DJ. I think Mortis gods give it to me, and I think it's coming.
That's fair.
But I'm also with Zach that I don't think that these scenes are going to connect to it. I think that Balin's story is more so headed in that direction, but we'll save that for when we get there.
Eventually.
Okay. The next thing.
I love our discussion, though. I gotta say.
Yeah, that was great. That was great.
This is the first time we've kind of disagreed. I
just feel like though I don't know.
There's never been three different
everybody's takes
disagreements.
I know. I love it.
I appreciated every take there though.
I love
Okay, part 5. Last thing, Jason Syndulla seems to have massive potential moving forward as the Force theme plays while he connects to the Force. And also, we got to talk about his companionship with Chopper. It is super easy for these young kid actors, and we've seen it in Star Wars with Jake Lloyd in Phantom Menace. It is super easy for some reason for the fans to not really connect with the portrayal. But I don't know what this kid's name is, but he nailed it. Jason, I loved every scene with him, and I loved how he was able to hear whatever Ahsoka was going through and able to hear Ahsoka fighting with Anakin.
That's why she was really there.
That's why what?
That's why she was really there.
That is a good point. That's a good point.
Unless he felt her through the Force.
Well, he did.
That's another good
both.
point. Thank you. Period. that helps me. That helps me.
I actually didn't hear what he said. What'd you say?
I said, what did I say? Oh, I said that's because she's really there, not in the.
Anyway, Jason and Chopper's companionship as well. I feel like they nailed that. That was really cool. Thoughts on Jason? Zach, what'd you think?
Absolutely loved him.
Yeah,
he was just
he's
enough. Made me tear up a little bit when the Force theme comes through. And we're going to talk about at the end. Music. MVP. And like just everything about that moment was great for me. I loved, for people who don't know who he is, all you need to know is that this dude is attuned with the Force. He can do something that not everyone can do at this point, and he's a little kid. And it got me emotional just because it was so cool. And then him being with Hera, like, it really worked for me. Being a dad, all of those put together, Kanan being amazing. It's so good. I love him so much.
A lot of potential there. DJ?
Yeah, very reminiscent of Little Annie in Phantom Menace in certain aspects. Like, can I build a lightsaber? No. Like,
A great moment.
That was
yeah,
great too.
it's and I love Hugh Lang's just like, no, like
Like,
I'm doing this to distract you. Shut up. Like, yeah, it's like it's all. But I don't really have any feeling about Jason. It's like I don't know. I don't like him. I don't hate him. I definitely don't hate
Okay.
him. It's I don't want to say that I don't like him either. I do like him. I just think that he needs to be around a little longer for me as a viewer to have any kind of latching on. If
Okay.
that because it made me want Kanan. It made me want to see Kanan is what I really wanted. I was like anything. I mean, I would have taken a hologram of Freddie Prinze Jr. fighting stormtroopers. You know,
never
just
He
gonna do
done.
that.
He done.
I know that, and I would have, but that's my point though, is that I would
Yeah.
have rather seen Freddie Prinze Jr.
Sure.
and that's a problem. It's an
That's
easily solved problem. Let the kid grow up, stick him
Yeah.
in the movie, give him a lightsaber, go ham.
Be
Case
Ezra's
closed.
apprentice.
Yeah, and that I would that I want. That I want.
Yes.
It's got to be happening.
That
right?
has
It's
to
right in front
happen.
of our face.
That's happening. 1000%. It's happening.
Give it to me. You know.
You know, speaking of Kanan, I'm shocked that I felt this way. I was going into it hoping to somehow see him, but I never when we actually got the show, I never once felt, oh, I need to see Kanan. I need to see Kanan. I need to see Kanan. The name drops were enough for me, I guess, if you will. I feel like the name drops kind of serve the purpose of Jason and really everyone else's story.
Dude, I agree.
Just personally,
I'm surprised
Yeah,
that I
I see
agree
that.
with this, but
Yeah.
I agree. Like,
because like you said, Zach, Kanan's one of your favorite characters now.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, that's why I'm surprised that I feel the same way. But I think Kanan was done so well
Yeah.
that like I feel complete. And so
Yeah.
just by the name drops alone and the lightsaber thing with Hu Yang,
And the picture on Hera's dash.
and the picture, like all of those little
Oh, I
pieces
forgot about that.
together nailed it for me. Like
Yeah.
that's enough Kanan. His legacy's intact. Like we're good. You know,
Yeah.
like I love
Well, his legacy moves on with his son, and that's what's beautiful about it.
it. So good.
All right, moving on to.
That just made me think. Does that mean that Jason Syndulla is the only in canon offspring of a Jedi that's not a Skywalker? Like there's 3 offspring of a Jedi, and that's it.
Well, Ray Palpatine.
No, she's not in the picture yet.
True.
Yeah,
Oh,
at
you're
this
talking
point,
about timeline. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah.
to our knowledge.
That's just something to chew on.
Is that
that's
true?
all. As far as I know.
That's non-Skywalker. I mean,
He's the
unless
o-
Cal,
I mean-
unless Cal has gotten busy at this point, I don't think so.
I mean, if that's how we repopulate the Jedi, I mean, go ahead. Whatever
Well,
works.
everyone has
Sure.
the Force, DJ, so we're good.
It's true. Yeah, we don't even need children. What's Jason? Everybody can
Work
tap in.
on
What's
it, and you'll all be
Yeah,
Michael
you-
Jordan, like I said.
All right, part 6, far, far away, Peridia, and the Peridia reveals that followed the Great Mothers, the restored Chimera, Enoch, Thrawn's army, and of course, Grand Admiral Thrawn himself. We got to speak on those moments, and obviously, for me, it's still just the entrance of Thrawn that was the biggest of big takeaways for that episode for me. The music, obviously, again, we'll talk about that probably a lot, honestly, the rest of this way. Just the way that the entrance was shot, the dialogue, the delivery, obviously it's familiar because Lars Mikkelsen voiced Thrawn. For me, everything about Part 6 was just phenomenal, being on Peridia. And I gotta say, the Part 4, Part 5, Part 6, that 3-week back-to-back-to-back was probably the best 3 weeks of Star Wars television of all time for me. And it just, the Thrawn reveal was just the explanation point on it. So what did y'all think? DJ, what did you think of all these Peridia bombs that they dropped?
It was a lot at once. I mean, it's kind of like it's kind of like chewing on a real tough piece of meat. It takes a second to digest. It's kind of how I felt about it.
Yeah.
I like all of it. I think the Great Mothers being there and Peridia kind of being this Scotland looking planet, if you will, was kind of neat. And I think a lot of that is fine. I really have no issues at all. I mean, Enoch is interesting to me, probably the most out of all of these. Like he clearly is somebody who was present I would imagine on what's the name of the Chimera, Chimera,
Chimera. Yeah.
He's somebody present there. I don't think he's another Night Sister creation. I think he's really like somebody that Thrawn kind of put some trust into.
Yeah.
I don't get the mask thing. Other than that, it looks like the guy that Russell
really cool.
Crowe. It does look cool. It looks actually like the Gladiator mask that
yeah, it does.
Guy from Gladiator, where Russell Crowe kills that guy. I don't know. I like all of it. I'm not like a Thrawn guy.
Okay.
So like the thing that I like the most about it is how much he looks like the cartoon, in Rebels, like that. How much he does look like Thrawn to me. I only know Thrawn from Rebels, really. So for me, it's like, okay, that's, the way his forehead looks and the way he's just blue and his eyes are super red. I love all of the things that they got right about him from animation to live action. And the biggest thing for me, Thrawn means absolutely nothing unless the organ is playing behind him.
Fair. That organ is spot on.
That's honestly, I think, a problem. Like for people like me who don't care about Thrawn, I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah.
I only like his entrance because of a bunch of stormtroopers and an organ.
Sure.
That's the truth. And I hate saying that because I know how many people are like, I love Thrawn. I will die for Thrawn.
Yeah, I'm one of
those.
Just
like, it's just a blue guy.
I think that's fair though. Like, I mean,
I know
I would say 90% of the people watching the show are feeling that way. Like, who is this dude? And I think they nail. I'll just jump in. I think they nail his introduction here, setting the scene of like, even if you don't know who he is, you're like, who is he? Like, all right, who is this guy? Why is he here? Why does he have these weird stormtroopers that look like stormtroopers, but they have like the gold in them? Which apparently I found out is like a Chinese or
yeah, Japanese, it's a specific art form. Yeah,
yeah, where you would like fill in your slashes and whatnot.
It's like Kylo Ren in Rise of Skywalker.
So good. We know he loves samurai stuff, and so like that, all of that worked for me. I thought the Grand Admiral stuff was great. I thought the Peridia lore was amazing, even before the end episode. Like, I thought introducing the Night Sisters and the magic and all that stuff just kind of filled a void I didn't know I needed in Star Wars, which was something fresh.
Yeah.
Not the Jedi, not the Sith. Something different for me.
The magic. Yeah.
Yeah. The magic specifically. And that really started to make me go, Thrawn could be very dangerous now. If we're talking like, okay, yeah, stormtroopers and TIE fighters, we know they're kind of sucky. You bring in magic, and he's all in on it, obviously.
Sure,
right?
Yeah.
Like, it made me go like, oh, this dude could be big time deal here. If he's back, which
he clearly only wants the magic as like a means to an end, though. I mean,
100%.
100%.
Yeah, he sells out Morgan Elsbeth, and it's like, I'll just take the three other ones.
It's very much.
It's so wrong.
It's just a tool in his tool belt.
It's very much like Thrawn in the Timothy Zahn Heir to the Empire trilogy. There's a dark Jedi that he uses to do his deeds, and as soon as he's done doing his deeds, I don't care anymore.
I love it. Like, that makes him even more intimidating to me. Like, this dude holds no emotion. It's all a playbook. Like,
it definitely makes him more evil, for sure.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
And that's the beauty I think that this show delivers, not just with Thrawn, but also with Balin, is that for so long, Star Wars TV has had a villain problem. And this kind of corrected that a little bit and gave us villains that we want to latch onto. Like, I don't give a rip about Thrawn any day of the week, but because I know he's the big bad, I do want to see what's happening and where it's going. I want to know those things, and I want to be ready for those things, even if I haven't read the books. I don't think I need to read the books to really get all that at this point.
Because in all the points
it's been so laid out. Yeah.
Where he's like, all right, I'm going to send 2 fighters out. And I'm going to I got 3 guys here. I'm going to send 4 people here. Like, he's so precise. He's watching the battle. He knows Balin has bounced. He's like, hey, well, hold up. He's not here. What are we going to do? And I just think it's all. Now, his execution is a little for me. Like, he's like, oh, barrage them with whatever, and nothing hits him.
He's thrown off because of Ahsoka's presence. That's the thing.
Yes.
Because
dude, yeah, we haven't even talked about that.
Yeah, he wasn't even considering the fact that Anakin Skywalker, who he's met, had a Padawan, and B, that she would have survived the purge, and 3, that she could even be present.
That's right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it adds this element that he's not prepared for. And I keep seeing memes and this point everywhere where people say Thrawn gets back to the normal galaxy, and someone says, "Oh, wait till he finds out about Luke Skywalker,"
Yeah.
because he has no
He has
idea
no
who
idea.
he is.
Well, and he also has no idea that Ahsoka survived. For all he knows, that Darth Vader killed her on Malachor.
And the eventual Luke Skywalker Ahsoka team up that will happen on a big screen. Mark my words, that's coming in the Filoni movie. It's going to make people like riot in the streets because it's so amazing. People are not going to be ready for that. It's going to be a whole thing.
It's gonna be
So
cool.
Thrawn has this allure and this ability to bring about a lot of things.
Yeah, he does.
That's why I care about Thrawn.
Mm-hmm.
But again, right now to me, he's a strategist. I don't know how to say it. Strategist. Thank you. I don't talk good. Strategist. Yeah, he's good at strategy, and he's blue, and he has an organ that accompanies him everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
It's pretty dope.
Well, and I think this is a later point, but that's okay. We can go ahead and get into it as far as Thrawn and how he landed in the show overall. You mentioned, how Thrawn was landing for like the non-diehard Thrawn fan or just the casual viewer. I am concerned, and I don't think it's a concern. I think it's a legit thing that happened. I think everyone's walking away thinking that they enjoyed Balin as a villain more than Thrawn. And that's not really probably what they were going for. They probably want you leaving this show thinking, oh man, Thrawn really is Star Wars' Thanos at the moment. And I don't think that they quite got to that. They got really close, in my opinion, but I still feel like Balin's the big, awesome villain that everyone's walking away out of this season with. Do y'all kind of agree with that?
With Balin not even being a villain to me.
Okay, that's fair too.
Like, I just see him as another player in the game. Like, I don't think of him as a villain or a bad guy. I just think he's another guy that's on this adventure.
Yeah,
sure.
We meet.
Yeah,
right?
It's like I think a good weird board game comparison would be like Thrawn is playing chess. We all can see that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Balin's playing like Settlers of Catan.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I think it's just they're in the same world. They're just doing two different things.
Yeah.
Because their motives are so vastly different. Balin's exactly where he wants to be at the end of the series.
Yep. Yeah, he is.
And Thrawn exactly where he wants to be at the end of the series. And so it's just different. And how they explore those characters going forward will be very telling. I think with Thrawn, for me, I just kind of know what to expect. With Balin, I don't know what to expect, and I think that's why he's more interesting.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, I just wanted to kind of gauge you on that.
Awesome though, like a guy who's kind of in the same boat as DJ, who didn't really know about him except for Rebels. I'm kind of way heavier on him. Like I thought he was awesome in the fact that he's in on the magic and he calls Ahsoka to talk smack. Nailed it.
That was great
for me. Where he's like, "Oh, hey, by the way, Gigi, I win, you lose. Goodbye." Like I thought that was incredible. I text Keller. I said, "He's talking smack to her." I love it, man. You tried, but you failed. Like I just thought that was so good and so in character for him. Because remember, he just lost a big, huge L on his forehead. He's been gone. And now all his little planning has got him back. So just for one last little stamp, he had to be like, "You tried." Sorry.
It was good. So I'm with you. Overall, I loved Thrawn. I thought he was awesome too. But I am kind of also hearing you, DJ. I do think that there's out there maybe people walking away, maybe not fully sold on him just quite yet, as far as the massive big bad that everyone was hoping
see that too,
to be. Okay, moving on. Noti. We got to talk about them real quick, being on Peridia. Clearly, like our little Ewoks of the show, I didn't mind them. I know there was some criticism for them, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was very Star Warsy. What say you, whoever?
I thought they were awesome. Like, they worked for me. They were great. Not overdone. They were cute. Great overall. Cool.
Wars. I don't like when Star Wars is cute. I hate porgs. I think porgs are stupid.
Hate a lot of Star Wars then is what you're saying.
There are a lot. I love Star Wars. I want to make that very clear. There are things in Star Wars I don't like. I don't like porgs. Ewoks serve a greater purpose. I like them kind of. I could if I've not thought about the Noti one time. I don't care about them. They look
Okay.
like Franklin the Turtle just showed up in Star Wars and decided to dress like Frodo Baggins. That's what they look like. They're little hermit crabs. They move around.
Yeah.
They're the most underwhelming thing in Star Wars ever.
Fair.
If they all got blown up by the Death Star and everybody else survived, I'd be okay with that.
Oh man. Okay.
I just don't care. I actually don't even like them. I don't care.
You don't like them?
They're only there so Ezra can camp out with them. That's it.
Sure.
And it's just stupid.
I think it would have. I think it would have been cool if it was more so because I mean this is a completely different galaxy. I think it'd have been cool if
True.
it was just like a massive ragtag team of tons of different species. Like that would have been
This is all
so cool.
sort of accidentally
like
ended up
almost
at
Ezra's. Yeah, almost Ezra's own version of like the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of thing.
Okay.
He's just
that
hanging
would've
out with
been-
like 5 people that are just wrecking
that
shop
would've-
throughout this planet.
or some defected stormtroopers would have been nice.
See, this
Yeah.
completely worked for me. It made complete sense. There's this random company of things.
I'm
that-
not saying it doesn't make sense. I'm just saying I don't like it.
That's fun.
Like I don't want to eat Brussels sprouts, but I acknowledge they exist, like
It's made
This-
for kids, DJ. Remember?
it's true.
That is true.
I can't
That is
argue that
true.
one. I cannot argue
That's
that.
from the Godfather himself. So
Yeah, I can't argue. I cannot argue. For a second, I thought you were talking about Brussels sprouts. I was like,
yeah, that too.
Well, they're not. The Brussels sprouts aren't made for me. I can tell you that. I ain't eating those.
yeah.
All
But
right.
anyway,
well,
I don't really care. I don't really care about them.
okay. Well, how about Ezra Bridger? Do you care about Ezra Bridger showing up in this
I
episode?
do care about Ezra Bridger.
How was the hug? How was the emotional moment with Sabine? Because I
I-
gotta admit, I don't think the emotions were there for me.
A lot of people didn't like the way that it was separated. Like the getting there was a problem for a lot of people. I realized that. Like why didn't they just immediately run up and hug each other? I don't know
Yeah.
why they didn't immediately just run up and hug each other. But I do think that it is a very in character thing for Sabine and Ezra to have had a conversation before that.
Okay. Yeah.
And then hug. I just
Yeah.
wish the hug would have been a little more like loving. They
Okay.
just seemed like just like pals who had
Like it's been what 9 years?
I don't know the timeline actually. It's been a while.
It's somewhere
Yeah.
in there. And you
But
would think that I don't know. It just didn't. I agree with you. Them talking to each other is probably more on character. So
Yeah.
I agree with the order of things. I still feel like it could have been maybe written better to get that emotion out of me.
I would be curious to see if they did this 4 or 5 different ways. Like if we get to like a Disney gallery behind the scenes thing and they're like, yeah, we shot this 6 or 7 different ways and just had to let the actors kind of play with how they wanted to roll into it. And then this is the one we went with, with the guy that played Bilbo Baggins in the Hobbit movies, Martin, can't remember his last name, but whatever his
Freeman? Is it Freeman?
Freeman.
Okay, Martin Freeman. The way he played Bilbo, that's how he did every scene. He'd play every scene just a smidge different to give the editors, something different.
Yeah.
And I think that if they had done that with this, and this is like, okay, that's the take I want to use, I'm okay with that. But even if this is how it's written and that's how they performed it, that's fine. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Zach, how about you? Did it work?
I thought it was fine.
Okay.
I think about it like if you don't see family for years and then you go see them, I don't immediately like go kiss them and hug them.
Fair.
You know what I mean? I'm not like, oh, I missed you so much. It's more like,
Although I will say I
Well-
haven't really faced death with my family members like Ezra and Sabine have.
well, that's probably even more up to the point of like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
you kind of have to drink it in for a second. Like, is this real? Like,
Okay,
and that's
fair.
why I think it worked for me better than both of you guys because it made sense. Like, Sabine's not gonna immediately run over and just fall onto him. Like, she would say some quirky thing, which she does,
Sure, she does.
and then we get the embrace.
Yeah.
So it worked for me
Okay.
in general. The
Well-
reveal of Ezra,
Yeah.
very anticlimactic though.
Very anticlimactic.
Like
Yeah.
very much just like, oh, cool.
What's up,
Like
dude?
we've been trying to figure out as fans where this guy is for years, and then Filoni goes with the whole. Well, the funny thing is I know where Ezra is, and then he's just like hanging out with snails.
Yeah, I mean,
Turtles.
That's why I actually don't like whatever they are. That's literally I don't even care. Like I don't like them because they were used as this stupid plot point.
I
for,
think we're
like-
gonna have to clip your Noti rant here.
see, and
Oh, I'm not on
again, like,
TikTok anymore, so do what you want.
it seems very
Okay.
Ezra to me of him to like
To hang out
post
with
up
him.
with these no T
Yeah,
people.
I agree with that. I
No.
agree with that.
Like it just seems right on character,
Yeah.
and in a weird way, the reveal kind of works because he would just be like, "Hey, surprise, what up?" But I thought it would be like we talked about it for episodes. If you didn't even know who Ezra was, we know
Yeah.
that that's the
Yeah,
goal.
that's exactly how my dad reacted. He was like, "This is the guy they're looking for."
Like, oh, he just like
Did he walk off the
He's
set?
just there?
Yeah.
on
Did
this
he walk off
huge
the set of
planet?
The Chosen and just show up like that?
Yeah.
I mean, it to me, it's very underwhelming.
Okay.
It just is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with
Yeah.
that. Underwhelming.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
But I'm glad he's,
I love the. Okay,
yeah,
let's
I'm
call
The
it.
glad he's
actor.
here.
The
the actor.
actor
Oh,
nails
great. Oh,
Ezra.
absolutely. That's Ezra Bridger. Yeah, he's Ezra.
Nails
Yeah,
him.
So
absolutely,
glad
he's
they
Ezra.
went with
Yeah.
him instead of, and I love Mina Masoud, but who?
No.
Is it Amon
Amon
Isfandi?
Assad.
Is
I
it
don't know his name.
Fonny? I think.
I don't know his last name
No. Yeah, I don't know.
at the
but
moment.
he's
but
amazing.
I'm glad they went with this guy.
Well, the
He's
only
great.
reason Mina Masoud was ever in the conversation is because he did Aladdin,
right?
and I didn't.
Yeah.
I
He
didn't
talked
even.
about it.
But I didn't
Yeah,
even
he
like.
taught. He put himself out there for
He
it.
he did, but like he's got the Disney connection, and it's just
Yeah.
Disney likes to kind of keep things in house sometimes,
I mean,
and
he would probably have been
Yes.
fine.
Yeah,
but
he probably
this
would have been good.
dude
it would have been
Great.
fine. But I didn't like him in Aladdin.
nails
Okay.
it. Yeah, he was okay.
I
He
haven't
was the
seen it.
weakest part of Aladdin. That's
I haven't
for sure.
seen Aladdin.
Yeah,
so
Aladdin was the weakest part of Aladdin. That's a problem. So that's why. That's probably why he's not Ezra, and
The
why they went with this
reality of
other
it.
guy. Yeah.
fair.
Um,
All right.
yep.
Let's move on to part 7. Dreams and Madness. We get C-3PO. We get a cameo that leads to Leia Organa being mentioned. And, of course, we got to ask again, kind of like we did with Carson Teva, did this cameo work for us? How do we feel about them addressing Leia's role in the New Republic in this way? And I feel like that's probably like the meat of this discussion. I would be shocked if one of you says, we didn't enjoy C-3PO being in this show. Right? Are either of you going to say I didn't want to
Nah,
see
dude,
C-3PO?
that was incredible. Come
Okay,
on.
Cool. What about you, DJ?
Oh, I melted.
You've been a little
I-
Sith tonight, if I'm
No,
being honest.
I absolutely melted when I saw
Okay,
C-3PO.
So you enjoyed 3PO. So
I
let's
just-
address then the Leia of it all.
Yeah.
Like, is this an appropriate way to handle the OG?
Oh, absolutely.
characters.
If you're going to ever mention Princess Leia, and it's purely because Carrie Fisher's no longer with us. That's why. Having her in the conversation via C-3PO is oh man, if anything made me want to cry during this series, it was that.
Okay, fair.
Like emotionally, it was the best option for an OG original trilogy tie-in. And you've got all these awesome things, elements, X-Wings and what have you. But like you bring in C-3PO, that's Star Wars. He's the man. And Anthony Daniels coming in and being C-3PO one more time. It's just like, you just don't know how many more times we're going to get these guys.
That's very true.
And so it's like, you got C-3PO, dadgummit, you got
Put 'em in there.
C-3PO. Like,
Yeah.
it's perfectly. So it is great. I loved it.
Yeah. How about you, Zach? How about the Leia of it all?
Loved it. Perfect use of Leia and name dropping and lore and
Yeah.
it being C-3PO. You get just enough of him. We get a little chopper moment. Thought that was great. Where he's talking smack.
Yeah,
on
the chop.
droids.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool.
I just
That
thought-
was the closest we got to Chopper committing a war crime.
Yeah, it
I
was.
was like, come on.
we wanted to earlier.
Hashtag screw Ziono too, by the way. We don't
Oh,
like
yeah.
that.
Oh,
dude.
Can't stand that dude.
Perfect. Yeah.
Can't
perfect
stand him
acting.
more than the Noti, man.
Yeah, the Noti top. This guy too. But no, I thought it was
No
great.
comment.
Just
Picture
picking
perfect.
on DJ.
And the fact that what's her face calls him 3PO, thought that was dope.
Mon
Like, a little
Mothma.
comment. Yeah, Mon
Yeah.
Mothma, like saying,
Can we?
like, oh yeah,
she
it all
she
kind
doesn't
of-
age a day,
it
by the way.
correct. It all culminated
She's off the set
together.
of Andor.
Great moment, and it wasn't heavy,
Yeah.
like ham-fisted either. I thought
Yeah.
it was very,
No, I agree.
very clean.
No, he walks through the door and says, "I have a message from General Organa," and I was like, I think my heart, like I fell in love with Princess Leia again. Like
There you go. Nice.
I think we all, as young boys, when we watch Star Wars for the first time, we're like, "Oh, I like Princess Leia." But then, like you see, like where the story progresses, and she becomes this general in 7 and 8, and then she's
Yeah.
gone in 9, and you're like,
Yeah.
Man, I love it's you kind of fall in love with the character, and then you in the right way, not in the like crush kind of way, like the
Yeah.
you just genuinely care about the character. It's how I felt. It was just perfect.
Yeah. I agree. I liked the way they addressed Leia in this series for sure. And I know that opens up the can of worms of recasting, deep fake, CGI, blah blah blah.
This was perfect.
Yeah, the way that they handle it in this show,
It
I
was the
agree
right
with
it was the right way to do it.
I agree with the way they decided to do it in this season of television. All right, moving on. I do want to mention this, though. We did get a listener question regarding this scene from Daniel at Star Wars Now This on Twitter. Is Hera's trial scene taking place on Coruscant? I'm going to go ahead and say yes. Do y'all agree with that?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it's confirmed with the outside.
I think,
showing.
I think it showed the outside footage. I think so. And then continuing on from Daniel, it says, if so, does that mean it remains the capital of the New Republic? I thought the inverse story was that the New Republic government was no longer on Coruscant, moving around from planet to planet, eventually locating to Hosnian Prime at the time of The Force Awakens. I think that it's possible that still happens. But I also know that Dave Filoni has been on record saying, yeah, I don't really look at the books. So, like, it's possible that Dave Filoni is still setting up Coruscant being the main New Republic base while he's telling his story, but I do still think it's possible that the New Republic eventually has to move to Hosnian Prime, for example. DJ, I know you're aware of this movement for the New Republic. So how do you feel about that question?
I guess it's a good question. I think as far as the universe is concerned, we're only a few years removed from the second Death Star exploding. So
Great
it's
point.
it's gonna take a minute to move a government.
Yeah, we're probably about 12 to 15 away from The Force Awakens, I think.
I mean, no. We're further than that.
Really?
Yeah, we're further than that. I think
Okay.
I looked at some.
I think Mando 1 was 5 years after Return.
It was five or six, and then I went ahead and looked up to see what it was. This is so many weeks ago, I don't remember. All I know is that Ben Solo is like 4 years old at this point in time.
Okay.
That's kind of how I base it around, because Kylo Ren's 30 years old when we get to Force Awakens, or 29 or whatever. So like I base it around that.
Okay.
So for me, I'm trying to remember where we're at here. Oh yeah, the whole government thing. I think it just takes a minute to relocate a government.
Agreed.
I mean, that's all it is.
I think there's both going on.
Yeah,
you overthrow a government, you're just going to go into that place.
Look at every government that's ever been overthrown.
You're going to use the place that it was at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to use the same Senate chamber by any means.
Now, not to take away from the question though, because I don't know, I don't know the history of them bouncing around.
That is something that they do when by the time the sequel trilogy begins, they do kind of rotate the government of the Republic, which I think is silly. I think it's silly. But
I was going to say, I think it makes sense in a Star Wars galaxy world. Why not do that?
I mean, I can see where it makes sense. I don't think it's necessary.
I'll be honest, I can't really speak to that part of it well because I haven't read the novel that it comes from. I think it comes from Leia's Bloodline novel, maybe.
It's one of those Leia books for sure.
I think it kind of dives into it. So I can't speak on the reasoning behind it, but I'd have to guess it's to make sure that they're not getting destroyed. I don't know. I really don't know.
It doesn't work.
I can't say. It doesn't work. Yeah, at the end of the day, it didn't work. It didn't work. Okay, moving on. Part 6 still here. No, part 7, rather. We get one mention of Zeb, and it's in this episode. It's Sabine updating Ezra, saying that he is off training recruits. Obviously, everybody went into this series expecting to see Zeb based on him showing up in The Mandalorian Season 3. So does this feel like a massively missed opportunity, or is this one of those moments where, as fans, we have to practice patience? I was really hoping to see him in that last scene with Ezra in the finale. Maybe he was just visiting Hera at Home 1 for some reason, and he happened to be there the day that Ezra showed up. But it never happened. I'm leaning toward it's a massively missed opportunity at the moment. I don't feel like I should have patience right now. So maybe one of y'all needs to talk me off that ledge.
Well, don't ask me to talk you off the ledge.
So you don't like it either.
I think we were robbed.
Okay.
Because he was teased in Mando Season 3.
Yeah.
He shows up. He's at a bar with Carson Teva, and he should, he should be there. He should at least be at the end.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm coming in hot, boys.
Let's go. Let's hear it.
Zeb.
Let's
I
hear
think
it.
he has no place in this story.
Ooh, okay.
Not
So-
even at the very end when Ezra
Maybe.
returns home.
But
Like,
where
that's the only
Keller's like, he
place.
just so happens to be that, yeah, like that would still have. I would be like, oh, that's cool, yay! But we don't even see them embrace. They don't even touch.
Like
they
the
cut
people
it.
that are there. Yeah.
And so it's like I think
true.
that we don't need him at all. We
Maybe
saw
Dave
him
Filoni
already.
doesn't like hugs.
We know that's true, but also we know what he's
Maybe he
doing.
does.
They say his name. That was enough for me personally. And I
That's
can
fair.
completely understand
Just give
the
it to me.
feeling of like, you feeling robbed. Like, why was he not there? Like, come on. But for me personally, I didn't love him in Rebels. Like, he wasn't my guy. He was just like a part of the team. So I didn't need him here.
Part of the crew, part of the
How
show.
dare you? How
Didn't
dare
need it.
you?
Didn't need it.
That's fair. It's fair. No, you're probably right. It's fine. We'll
I don't mean
wait.
to be right,
But when's he gonna show up? Season 2?
the movie.
Is it
put
the
him in
movie?
let's put him in Skeleton Crew just
He's
for
a
kicks and
CGI
grins.
character, boys. He's
But
gonna be
is
in
it the movie? Like, the movie is already going to be clustered with tons of characters.
I
we
mean,
don't
he's
even know
gonna
if we're
be.
getting Ahsoka season 2. Let's just throw that out there.
what did you
That's
say?
not confirmed.
What'd you
we
say
don't know
about-
if we're
that's
getting
true.
season 2 Ahsoka.
That's
so
true. That may be something we talk about here toward the end too,
He'll
maybe-
be in-
of
he'll
what
be
that
in
might
Obi-
look like.
He'll be in Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he'll be in Jeff Kenobi, the story about Obi-Wan's brother.
He's in. They're gonna. Y'all didn't hear about this one. They're doing a crossover between Andor and Lando, and they're gonna call it Landor, and that's where Zeb's gonna show up. You know,
Really?
no lie, I'm in on that show. Give me Lando.
No, I think it's actually in the show that's called Chewie Aurelios, and it's about Chewbacca and Zeb at the same time.
okay, sign me up for that. That sounds like a great time.
You
I'm
got
good with that
breaking
too.
news from Mando
Sounds
Talk. We got all
expensive,
kinds of
but-
shows. We know them all. They're in the works.
Jonas Suotamo is ready to come back as Chewbacca. You give
Yeah,
him
he'll
five.
come whenever.
Give him.
He'll
He'll do it
show
for
up.
$5. He'll do it for $5, man.
Oh, 100%.
All right, let's get to the last thing here for episode 7. Ezra's decision to pass on taking his lightsaber back was a big talking point after this episode was released. Of course, we got to ask if that bothered you in any way. I will say in the moment I was bummed that Ezra didn't take his lightsaber back so we could get the cool Ezra moments. But then in the finale, we get the even better moment, in my opinion, of Ezra actually building like Kanan Jarrus 2.0 lightsaber hilt, which was more satisfying to me. And also, Ezra's been on this planet, like we talked about, 8 to 10 years at this point. He's probably not well off with the lightsaber training at the moment. He would probably be more connected with the Force in that sense rather than the physical way. So I was okay with the decision, albeit a little disappointed in the moment. Zach, how did you feel about this decision for Ezra?
Made sense to me. Like,
Okay.
I keep saying that a lot here, but
Yes.
a lot of this show makes
Show
sense.
made sense. Yeah,
It's
okay.
Like, why would he need that? He hasn't had it for 10 years. We'll just
Yeah.
assume it's 10. Like,
Yeah.
I'm the Force. I use the Force, baby. Boom, boom, boom. I love that. The kind of
The
monk
Force is my
of it,
ally.
where it does a lot in one thing. It tells us he's still been in touch with the Force. He's still been like working with it, attuned to it.
True.
And
He didn't close himself off. Like Luke.
Exactly. We know he's still at least training in that regard, and
Mhm.
so I thought it was awesome. I love seeing him. It's a little clunky in live action. Let's just say that. Like if it was
Okay.
animation, I think it'd be a lot cooler if he was just using the Force.
Yeah.
But thematically, it worked for me, especially for the payoff we get with the hill
Agreed.
history, and then we see the blue, and all of that was way cooler than him
Yeah.
grabbing it from Sabine and being like, "Oh, here we go."
I agree. DJ, what'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, Kanan was always trying to tell Ezra it's not the lightsaber that makes the Jedi.
He says it.
Yeah.
blatantly.
Yeah, and so the fact that was brought into this point and making sure, okay, he's got the Force, he knows what he's doing.
Yep.
You don't, and even Count Dooku in Attack of the Clones says to Yoda, obviously this contest can't be won by our skills with the Force, but maybe with a lightsaber. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not, that's not a a reminiscent thing of that necessarily, but it's a reminder at least to say, hey, you don't always need a lightsaber to be a Jedi. You know, you can use the Force and still be a Jedi. I mean, Yoda did
Agreed.
it for all of Episode 5. Why would it come
True.
as a huge? Why would it be a huge shock that Yoda has a lightsaber when we get to Attack of the Clones? When it just. The lightsaber doesn't make the Jedi, but we're okay with Yoda teaching Luke on Dagobah, So
Yeah.
I think that it's totally okay, and
Okay.
I love the Kanan 2.0 payoff, as you put it. I
Yeah.
think it's great. It's such a great way to honor your master, and it's a great way to honor Freddie Prinze Jr.'s portrayal of Kanan. I mean,
Yeah.
he doesn't want to be in live action. That's fine. I don't like it, but it's fine. And if that's how we get Freddie Prinze in live action, that's fine.
Yeah.
And the
I'm
use
okay
of
with
Fu
it.
Yang right here, great.
Yes.
The
Mhm.
history piece I was talking about, like that
Yeah.
works so well for me. It's a little convenient. He just happens to have it right here, but the story point of like, oh, you were there, you knew him. It's like, oh, dude, that's deep. Like that's
Yeah.
so cool. I just
They're
love
two. They're two halves of one person's story. Is where Hugh Yang got to see him as a Padawan. Ezra got to see him as his master. It's kind of like they're piecing
and he calls him Caleb.
As soon
Loved
as he
that.
called, I know you did. As soon as he called him
Loved
Caleb
it.
Doom, I was like, okay, all right. We're getting all the connections. It's good stuff.
Well,
Yeah,
it
it
would
was
make
good.
sense. He calls him Caleb. That's how he knows him. Like
Exactly.
oh man, if Filoni doing his thing, being like, I got you. All right, we ain't gonna mess this up.
Cooking. He cooked. He
Oh,
cooked this entire season.
Cooking with
Maybe
gas.
maybe
It's
some
big.
flaws like DJ's Noti and some other
mean,
things.
it's just Star. It's
That's
Star,
the easiest thing for me to pick on the rest of the way.
as Zach said, it's for kids.
It is.
Filoni
It is
knows
for
that.
kids.
That's okay.
He does. He does.
But it's stupid.
Okay. Well, let's get to the finale. We've already kind of touched on Ezra and Kanan Jarrus 2.0, so we'll kind of glance over that one regarding talking about finale discussion. But one thing that we haven't hit yet is Morgan Elsbeth. In the finale, she gets the gift of shadows. She becomes a fellow great mother. She's gifted the Blade of Talzin and ultimately puts up a great fight against Ahsoka. So we definitely need to talk about her character use in this season. I think it all boils down to her just being very faithful to the mission, like getting to Thrawn. That was impressive. And also, she puts up a pretty good fight against Ahsoka. Better than I expected. And the Blade of Talzin, that was really dope. That was really cool to get that Clone Wars connection. Zach, I know you haven't seen Clone Wars, so what did you think when you saw that blade? And just overall, what did you think of Morgan Elsbeth?
I thought it was all incredible. Let's call it what it is. I thought it was really, really worked. The blade, the whole presentation of her. Like I thought they were gonna kill her for a second. I thought she was gonna be like the sacrifice kind of a thing, but no, it's really just her leveling up, I guess. I thought their fight was the best fight in the show, one of the best fights in Star Wars. No, in TV, Star Wars TV.
Okay.
Sorry, Star Wars TV.
I agreed with you about the show aspect.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair. Sorry,
Yeah,
Star Wars
You lost
TV.
me, then you had me.
Yeah, I could see your face, and that's why I was like, "Wait, what did I just say?"
One of the greatest fights of all time in Star Wars, right there, baby.
Yeah, exactly. That's why my gears were like, "Oh." But no, I thought it was great. It really was awesome. It lived up to the hype of a finale battle, kind of a thing for me.
It did. Yeah.
I thought it was cool.
DJ Morgan Elsbeth.
I'm
What'd you
bummed
think?
she's gone.
I'm not.
I really liked Morgan Elsbeth because the fact that her godfather is Bruce Lee.
Okay, fair.
Yeah,
And I'm
for
like,
sure.
like we have this awesome connection, not only to an amazing actor and character actor that Bruce Lee was, but like the physicality of what Morgan Elsbeth can do being in real life a mixed martial artist. It's like, I love that. The samurai side of that comes out a lot. That Akira Kurosawa style of storytelling is just so awesome. And I love that Filoni and Favreau are like so in tune with that. And that's what I'm gonna miss about Morgan Elsbeth. I thought the fight was awesome. The Mother Talzin sword was cool because I was like,
cool.
I was like,
So
and
cool.
it's awesome. I like it when Star Wars has sword fights without lightsabers. I remember when the Grievous bodyguards come up with those electro staves. Older fans went nuts because they were like, "But a lightsaber can cut through anything," and I'm like, did you see Luke's lightsaber not cut through that handlebar on the Death Star when he, was going after Vader and all? Like, just little things. Like, I like this. I like that the lightsaber doesn't have to have a fight with another lightsaber. I'm glad that we get a second showdown between Morgan Elsbeth and Ahsoka. I would have liked to have gone for a third, where We kind of see like I would have liked if Morgan Elsbeth like would have won this one and then they fight later on. I think that would have been fun to see a little rematch, but it's okay because
Okay.
like we're moving up a list here, or,
Yeah.
or we're tearing up for something bigger.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Morgan has now kind of served her character
She
purpose.
has, but I
And
will miss her because I
yeah,
like
no,
that
I agree.
character. I
Yeah,
like
I
that character.
100% agree with that. And I also think Morgan's death allowed us to see Thrawn not care. Like, it portrayed Thrawn being like, oh, she was just a means to my end, so I don't really care that she's dead. So that was great plot service for some bigger things, I think. So overall, I really enjoyed Morgan Elsbeth in this finale. Well, the next thing that we need to talk about is Sabine. Zach, I know you alluded to it earlier regarding her seemingly unlocking her potential in the Force as she pushes Ezra onto the Chimera. I do personally feel like it was maybe a little too quick for that Force ability, but it still worked. If that, I don't know, like I'm 50-50 about it. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It's just kind of there. So I know I've kind of heard from Zach about that. He's given me some teases there. I was reading between the lines with what you were saying earlier, Zach. So DJ, how was the Sabine force pushing Ezra
I
here?
don't, I
How
don't,
did that work for you?
I didn't really consider that like a debatable thing when I
Okay.
saw it. I was like, she's struggled to find that place this whole series.
Mm-hmm.
She finally is able to at least call the lightsaber to her. I
Yeah.
really, I really don't see much of a problem
Okay.
with this. I mean, I think for me, it's very Rebels esque. It's very Clone Wars esque, and that's where it gets a little, But I can see
Sure.
that's why people would be like, "No, I'm not sure about that." I don't really. It doesn't bother me. I just
I
like, you
have.
know what? She figured it out how to do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
And that's kind of like what my mental answer to why she's now able to kind of just do that full on ability of pushing Ezra all the way across is maybe now that she has unlocked it by reaching out for the lightsaber, like there's no limit now essentially. I mean, there's a limit. She ain't going to pull down a star destroyer like old legends Luke or like Galen
Yeah.
Merrick in Force Unleashed. but
Or
now that
Darth Vader.
true. Yes, Darth Vader as recent as Obi-Wan Kenobi. But now that she's kind of done that, yeah, she can push a dude, maybe. Zach, what do you think?
So, okay, I did tease it a little. Um, I am 49% with DJ on this, where you
Okay.
unlock it. Yep, you're a go. I'm 51% of that's
Too quick.
that's too quick. Like
Yeah.
going back to my sports analogy, okay, she can do good layups, but she ain't pulling threes.
She ain't dunking on him.
That's what I mean. Like that's a big thing, I feel like.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is.
you're pushing this dude far away thing. Like you barely could
Yeah.
move this lightsaber, and now you're pushing him. So I will say, I think that's me being nitpicky. I don't think it's
Sure.
worth me being.
Maybe she's just a fast learner.
Well, okay. Well, I was like, huh. It made me go, huh. Okay. Like, you know what I mean? I moved on quickly, but I still was like, that's
Yeah.
convenient.
No,
Yeah.
I see what you're
I
saying.
think it's in the writing because
Yeah, like we didn't need to have that. We don't need to have them do this weird jumpy thing. Have
Well,
Ezra get on the thing. Have
I think
Sabine be with her. Done.
I
We
think
didn't
what
need
would
that
have
weird
worked better would be because it's Sabine who comes up with this plan.
Yes.
I think it would have worked better if Ezra had come up with the plan and said, "Hey, Sabine, I just saw you do it. You can do this," and kind of
Mhm.
like even like a
Maybe.
little mini lesson from him
Yeah.
to her,
Like you got
and
this.
then she does it rather than her just being like full on confident. Oh yeah, baby, I got the
Yeah.
force. Go ahead.
I'll tell you what the real problem here is Star Wars dropped a bunch of concept art pieces the other day, and in the background was Sabine, Ahsoka, and Ezra fighting them stormtroopers on the way up to the top of that area where they jump.
Yeah.
And in the background, Sabine's wielding a lightsaber and using a jetpack. And guess what? She doesn't have the whole series,
That is
but
a great point.
had at the end of Rebels a flippin' jetpack. It's so she's a Mandalorian. Why would she have the jetpack?
So essentially they cut out the jetpack to avoid that plot hole.
They cut out the jetpack just to watch her use the Force.
Well, it goes back to Keller's point of just don't have it in the writing. Why do we have to have this weird clunky scene to show that she can do that? We just saw that she can use the force. That's all I need. I don't need to see another, oh wow, she can push him. Just so we can get the moment of the bait and switch where, oh, she stayed with Ahsoka. Wow. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. That was just so clunky to me. Also, I want to throw this out there because it's been just living in my brain.
Okay.
The fighting in this episode, other than Elsbeth, clunky.
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 The concept of the zombie death troopers was so great.
Like there's moments, like Ezra has
So
the best
great.
moments in the fighting where he's zipping around and doing his thing. He pulls him towards Ahsoka. We get the cool moment.
Yeah.
Everything else super clunky. The dude comes up behind Ezra, is like, "Roar," and has got him. It's like, okay. And then up, like the peak of the clunkiness is when Sabine is like, "I'm here," and they're all just like, "Oh, hey, welcome back." And she just runs over to him, slice, shoot, slice. It's like,
yeah, I can
what?
see that.
Like,
I can see that.
Like we just got this sick fight with Elsbeth and Ahsoka, and she finally gets her, and you're like, yeah. And then Sabine is just like,
do you think, to play devil's advocate for a moment, do you think that if the fighting had not been clunky, but it had been like steady throughout, that people would have said something to the effect of, oh yeah, it was good, it was just too much?
I don't think we're there. I think people are itching for prequel style fighting again.
No, it's not even prequel style. It's just the choreography of it.
Okay. Okay.
Like,
they really do need to. I know Nick Gillard is still out there doing stunt work. Who did the prequels choreography? They need to just bring him back.
I think they do. I think that, and maybe that wasn't what you were saying, Zach.
Stuff, which was great, and that was all in shot. There was not a lot of cuts there, and then we get the other scenes where there's not a lot of cuts, and it's
slow motion.
Like, oh
step
no,
by step.
She's gonna get me. I'm dead.
It's like you can tell the choreographer's telling you go here. All right, next, go here.
Like you got this slice. In Stormtrooper, you're gonna fall here. Where the Elsbeth one, it was like, oh, boom, oh, here we go, baby.
That's
bam,
fair.
Bam,
oh man,
that's a fair criticism.
So that's just, it's so blaring to me. I had to bring it up, and I've seen it a little bit online, but I just was like, man, everything else was really great for me, but the choreography here was just.
That's fair. It's a criticism I've seen elsewhere, and I hear it. It's one of those that I'm just 50-50 on. I like having conversations about it. I'm not going to come at you if you felt like it was clunky, or come at you if you felt like it looked great.
It's the same force push issue. Like, it's not worth.
So
it's not worth it. Yeah.
Can I go a smidge tangent real quick?
Yeah, do it.
Oh, yeah, do your little smidge. Yeah.
So there's this old stunt choreographer named Bob Anderson, who he was Errol Flynn's stunt double. For those who know, it's like old 1940s and 50s Robin Hood. He was the sword master for all the Lord of the Rings movies, the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So he knows that if you've ever watched the behind the scenes Lord of the Rings, you also know that he was the guy who fought Alec Guinness as Darth Vader. He also, he knows his sword work is really what I'm trying to say. He was also Darth Vader versus Luke in Empire. He says this, working Lord of the Rings, says a lot of people think that you come to set and you just learn a little routine for a sword fight and that's it. But the truth of it is that you actually have to go through the process of learning the choreography. I think that's where Ahsoka and Rosario Dawson do really well, but it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do with everybody in the background? I'll just have them show up and do their thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, that's a problem. Bob Anderson doesn't, he's not alive anymore, so he can't just step into the frame and continue to do that. Now, a guy like Nick Gillard, who did the prequel stunt coordination and all of the choreography for the lightsaber fights, he's the guy. And if we're gonna get to a point where we want to see lightsaber fights like that again, we need him because he knows what's up. You know what I mean?
And I mean, so where do you stand on the clunkiness I'm talking about? Did you feel this, or am I being ridiculous?
I don't think you're being ridiculous, but I didn't feel it. Okay. I think that it's okay to nitpick these kinds of things, because if you look at like Last Jedi's Praetorian Guard fight, there's nitpicky things in there where like Rey, all she does is do this with her lightsaber and moves 3 Praetorians out of the way. It's like, okay, she learned how to use the Force 3 days ago. She's not gonna be able to do it that quickly.
What's the
Same
force
thing.
push thing to me?
That's
the
exactly what I
same.
was going to say. I mean, it's the same concept. It's still, she just figured it out. She shouldn't be able to do that, but here we are. Clearly there's enough and this is where the plot armor comes in. Clearly there's enough force ability within this character that's like, okay, you know what? Let her do the thing and maybe it'll work.
I think maybe they're trying to tell us like it's like a video game character where you unlock the ability of the force and you have like these like subset of abilities. And then if you level up in the force, then you get these other subset of abilities and kind of it goes like that, right?
And that's where it feels like Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor at that point, because that's all those
100%.
Yeah,
like,
that's
I
all
think
those
that's
are.
what they are telling us is like, hey, it's one of those things that once you kind of tap into the force, you can do a couple things here, but to do the lightning or do the pulling of the Star Destroyer down, like those are like
it's gonna take a while to get there.
Like those are next level things. Yeah,
and that's still clunky. It'll get to that point one day where she's gonna be doing some really cool stuff. I just, this whole thing could have been avoided as a debate for not for us, but we're just discussing. But in general, if she'd just had a flipping jetpack.
That's true. Or that's what I'm saying. It's like, don't even have this moment. Just have her stay with Ahsoka. We don't need the whole, did she? Oh no, she's leaving Ahsoka. Like that didn't.
Yeah, give us like where she gets knocked down by a death trooper and she rolls off the side of that thing and Ahsoka runs over and grabs her arm. I mean, anything would have been better than that. But I'm again,
we're in an emotional moment where they're like, Ezra, we came for you. You have to go. It has to be you. You know what I mean? Like a moment like that.
That would have been fine too. But it also, I can see the other side of it. People can get very debatey and over these things and
we're nitpicking at this point. I agree. It worked in general for me. I was like, okay, that's a good episode, but I still was like, I think a hot take for you here coming in hot. I think Rick Famuyiwa, is that how you say it?
Famuyiwa, something like that. I don't know.
Not my favorite Star Wars director.
Oh, he's not mine either.
I think that's the issue.
He specializes in the Star Wars weird.
Like I just every time I see one of his episodes, I have a weird nitpick about it, where like something didn't work or like the fighting is clunky or something. Like I think it's a directorial thing.
For me, it's still Bryce Dallas Howard.
She's the GOAT.
I know she did the Lizzo Jack Black episode in Mandalorian 3.
I love that episode.
But she directed what she was given as far as it being written that way. Yeah. I still think she's the best TV director. In my opinion. But Dave Filoni's I think Dave Filoni's up there too, though.
Dude, I think
Dave Filoni's there.
And what's his name? Peter Ramsey is his name.
Oh gosh, yes, dude.
Dude, he did Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
He's one of the Spider-Verse guys.
And he did one of the episodes in Mando 3.
Incredible. Love that guy. He
good.
did the scenes where it was Balin. I think it was Balin and
Ahsoka
fighting
on
that was
Cetos.
That was my favorite fight scene of the whole series.
The shots of them like spinning around.
I'm with you,
like,
DJ.
Having that like weird spear thing around.
But it's when she stands up and does that stance.
So good.
I saw that next to an old Kurosawa image from one of his movies, and I was just like, Filoni freaking did it again. I mean, every time something like that happens, it makes me just fall in love more with what's going on writing wise. And if Peter Ramsey, I don't know if Peter Ramsey made that decision, I would imagine Filoni did. But if Peter Ramsey made the decision for Ahsoka to be posed a certain way, to give that, this is a samurai look, this is feudal Japan, here we go.
I bet it was both, you know?
Like, it was probably both.
Was a collaboration.
Yeah.
You know?
I bet he was like,
you're right. It probably
like
was.
this, and he's like, we need to frame it this way or whatever. So that's why I'm just saying, like, the directorialness of this.
Yeah.
Very well done overall, but the Rick stuff.
There are so many like 10 out of 10s in the series as a whole that it's hard to even really nitpick.
Yeah.
But like when you come across those nitpicks, you realize that's why this isn't a 10 out of 10 series. It's why it's like an 8.5 or a 9. You know, it's so close. It's so close.
It's really close.
Yeah.
It's like I said earlier, the 3-week run that we had of 4, 5, 6 was just
it's hard to overcome any of that. It's hard to overcome any of that just because of how good the precedent was set for Anakin's arrival. Forget the fact that he just is there. Just when he finally is like we get that cliffhanger, and then
Yeah.
we gotta wait a week. I kept going to that episode, by the way, and like playing it. And like maybe the next one will just start.
Accidentally.
I did
That's
that so many
hilarious.
times. I
Yeah.
wanted
Little
it to
glitch.
happen.
Yeah.
It
Well,
for the record, it didn't.
interesting conversation there that definitely could continue. And the next thing that we have here for the finale is talking about Thrawn and how we felt about his overall depiction. But I really feel like we kind of touched on that earlier in our discussion. But I do want to point out it was vital that he got a dub here. And I think you already talked about that, Zach. Like, that's something we had to have.
Well, I don't know if I've talked about it on here, but I know we have talked about it.
Okay, we'll speak to it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I told Keller, I said, hey, it's going to end like Infinity War, right? It's going to be Thrawn walking away, smiling over a happy galaxy that he's back. And that's pretty much what we got, in a sense.
In a sense, yeah.
I think he had to win right here, obviously for plot stuff, but not only win as in getting back, but beating Ahsoka and the team.
Mm-hmm.
And by beating, she gone. Like, she's in the other place, which debatable. Yeah. That's where she's supposed to be, all that stuff. I get it. But in terms of what he wanted and his goal, it's mission complete. And so I think that needed to happen to cement him as a, top tier villain in my mind, right?
Yeah.
Like a big threat.
I'm with you. DJ, any other final thoughts you want to say on Thrawn? I mean, I think there's one other thing with Thrawn that we'll get to, but anything overall?
I never expected him to lose.
Yeah.
And I think that's a problem.
Because a problem?
Well,
I don't think it was a problem for this season.
It's not a problem if you're a casual fan. Okay. If you're a casual fan, it's on the money because you don't know who Thrawn is or where it's going. For the dork that I am and other guys and girls out there like me, it's like, okay, well, I know Thrawn's the bad guy. I know he has to get back, because I know, like, I was talking to my dad and my sister. They watched it religiously like I did and I was so happy that the first 2 episodes I got to watch with my family. I haven't done that in years, so it was awesome.
Yeah.
But coming in and talking to them about things, it was like they didn't know it was going to lead to a big movie. They don't know who Thrawn is. They don't care. They're just like, for them, it's like, he made it back. That's a big deal. For me, it's like, I know he's going to make it back because I know where the story has to go.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it has to lead to episodes 7, 8, 9. I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying that nobody really is taking that into consideration at all times.
It was always clear to me he was going to get back.
Yeah,
I
100%.
thought they were all going to get back together. I thought that's how it was going to end.
I will say I never expected anybody to remain on Peridea.
I
thought they'd all get home.
That's how I thought it was going to end.
But I knew Thrawn would get there. That was 100%. The thing for me. And I didn't know about. I kind of thought Ezra might get killed off for a minute there. I never really voiced that to anybody. But the fact that he didn't is fine because now you've got this awesome threat of both the Skywalker twins, the Ghost Crew. You've got the odd potential if they decide to pull Mara Jade into things, because why not at this point? You got Ezra there too. Throw everybody out there. Maybe Cal Kestis
Din Djarin.
is still around. Din Djarin's there.
Grogu.
Bo-Katan. Boba Fett. I mean, they're all there. Bring them in. Why not? Have fun with it. But
they're going to. 100%.
But they need to do something to kind of fix Boba Fett. That's another thing for another time. Yeah. But all that to say, I always knew it was going to get there. But like you said, Zach, I didn't expect anybody to stay back. I kind of thought they'd all get there.
My wife brought me some coffee. Shout out my wife.
Nice. Clutch. All right, well, let's get to this epilogue. Man, what an epilogue. I'm just going to say that. This is an incredible epilogue. We start with Shin. She's now the leader of nomads. Then we go to Balin, surrounded by cliff monuments of the Mortis gods. Then we go to Thrawn and the Great Mothers. They arrive on Dathomir. Then we go to Ezra. He returns to Home One and Hera and Chopper. And then we go to Ahsoka and Sabine, still on Peridea, where Sabine senses something and then we see a Force Ghost Anakin as the season of television closes. So let's just visit each and every single one of these real quickly. First one, Shin. What's going on with her? I don't know. So what do y'all think?
She's lost. I think she's lost.
She's
she's
lost.
if there's a second season, her story is going to be centered around finding who she is and her purpose.
Okay, that's fair. I agree with
Yeah.
that. Zach, what do you think?
I think she's lost. Is what I No, like for real though. That's all I can think is like
Yeah.
I saw someone online say she's like Gamora in volume 3 of Guardians of the Galaxy.
I like that. I
Mm.
like that comparison.
That's
And
good.
I agree. I agree that if you haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy, I won't spoil it, but what the point is here is that she is adrift. Like
Yeah.
she is not on her path we thought she was going to be on, and I don't think she's not on the path she thought she was going to be on. So it's time, make or break. Go with these random like I don't know what they are, like
Creatures.
color dude, bad guy. I don't know what you call these guys.
They're the
Yeah.
Tuscan Raiders of Peridia.
There you go. Yes,
Essentially,
exactly.
yeah.
But I like where she lands. I think it's perfect for her character because the
It's wide open.
possibilities are crazy.
It's wide open.
Yes, I really like where she lands. I love that she doesn't go with Ahsoka. I already said that. But
Yeah, me too. I was glad of that.
also
I was
love
very
that-
glad of that decision.
Also love the moment of Balin being like, "This is where we can diverge." Like,
Yeah.
this is the moment. Like,
And I liked that. I liked that moment wasn't like emotional or anything. It was just like this is what we have to do.
It was
See
like
ya.
a business transaction. It was like,
Yeah.
this is the end of our working together.
Yeah,
I never
thank you
liked
very
that.
much.
I never
You
liked
didn't?
that.
You
No.
did?
Okay.
Yeah.
You felt like it was abrupt because I've heard that take too.
I don't know what
that
I
them
don't-
separating was kind of just too quick.
Yeah, it was too quick. I don't know if I would classify it only as abrupt. I actually don't
Okay.
really know how to explain. I just know I don't like it.
Fair. Well, overall, I am very excited to see where Shin goes. And it seems like she's going to lead these nomads, and I'm sure if there's a second season that they have in development, she's going to be heavily in play. I'm sure she'll maybe run across Ahsoka, Sabine. Maybe somehow she'll get back into Balin's story. I mean, they're all on the same planet, so who knows? But speaking of Balin, let's get to him. So, we mentioned it. He's surrounded by these Mortis gods. DJ, I know you kind of alluded to the daughter earlier. If you look closely in this scene, you can see that the daughter's head is missing when the son and the father are still intact. Obviously, potentially some symbolism going on there. So let's start with you, DJ, then. What did you think of Balin's ending? And I know you're eager for the possibilities that this has.
Yeah, I'll get the obvious out of the way. For me, I'm very excited about the Mortis gods being more of a thing because I talked to my brother Gavin a lot about this, which is so weird that we talk about Mortis so much, but we do. And I really want more with that. I have my thoughts on it. Briefly, I'll say that Balin, I think, wants to have that father role. And the power is going to get manipulated in a way, and he's not going to be able to do it. And somehow, and I think Anakin's going to be involved with that. I firmly believe that Anakin is now the representation of the father because of the Mortis arc story in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Ahsoka is clearly the daughter,
Mm-hmm.
because the daughter literally gives all of her life force to Ahsoka to save her. So she is, for all intents and purposes, the daughter. The son is kind of a wiry idea. I think that the son is going to eventually be Ben Solo.
He makes wild.
He makes the most sense to me right now. To have a balance of sorts be there. I would like to see something like that happen.
Well, son's dark side, right?
He is, but that's why I think it's Ben Solo, like kind of because Ben Solo is very similar to Anakin in that he was redeemed last minute, but Ben Solo is so evil, like in a way that like Kylo Ren kind of overshadows Ben Solo. And so I think that where the son represents the dark side, maybe Ben Solo kind of just plays that role. If not, it's somebody totally different. I mean, that's okay if that's what happens.
Okay.
I'm throwing out weird speculative theories.
Sure. Yeah.
All that to say, I like this note. It's a great note because it's telling us where Filoni intends to go. And if that story, I really want the story to go through another series of television.
Agreed.
I don't want to get Mando season 4 and then go straight to a movie. I think we need Mando 4, Ahsoka, Skeleton
I'm afraid.
Crew.
I'm afraid that's what it's going to be. I'm just nervous. I'm just nervous about it all.
I mean, I'm nervous about it, but I want that to be what happens. And so if that's what happens, that's great. It's just getting there is going to be a smidge of a struggle. I feel like in Mandalorian season 3, I was a little bit let down by Mandalore and getting to Mandalore. There was some clunky stuff there. I don't want that to carry over with this Mortis stuff because I do care about Mortis so much.
Right.
So I think to just kind of put a bow on it, I like that we're headed that direction. I want Balin to be recast so we can see more of his character. I don't want him to be like, oh, he was struck by lightning and he's gone. Like I don't want it to be some weird like ride him off the boat him off the island kind of thing.
I think if anything, if they're not going to recast and tell the story in live action, they're going to resort to either animation or novel, and I really don't want that because his story, the story that he's headed toward is powerful new ground in live action that Star Wars has a potential to really dive into, and I don't want them to resort to animation and books where you typically see those kind of stories. Like I want them to really explore this in live action for a change. So and again, rest in peace to Ray Stevenson. Like it's going to be impossible to recast how he performed that role, but I feel like we kind of have to with what they've set up with that character. So
yeah,
I'm in agreement with you there. Zach, what do you think about Balin's ending? Confused.
Thought it was a good place to end. Thought it was a good place to end.
Yeah.
Very intriguing. Now, I personally know this story of the Mortis gods, at least by reading it. I've never seen the episodes, so that's my knowledge.
They're great episodes.
That's my knowledge of it. But as I've already told Keller this, I said we didn't talk a lot, but for the finale specifically, we did go back and forth.
Yeah,
I don't care about this. As I've already stated here, I don't need to know this stuff. Man. This whole, is he the father, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't care. It's Anakin. He's Darth Vader. That's all I need him to be. I don't need Ahsoka to be this daughter of the Force, blah, 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 blah stuff. Light. I don't need any of it. If we get it.
As Anakin in World Between Worlds would say, incorrect.
Well, like, I don't know, man. I feel like the general audience is going to fall asleep if this isn't done properly.
I think the audience is going to eat it up.
No,
personally,
no shot.
Because I know how it's written and how it behaves in Clone Wars, and I feel like people are going to love it.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. It's maybe I'm crazy and
yeah, you are.
Writing is
there's nothing new there.
Great, but well, dude, like it better be awesome because I don't care about that. We're back to the other galaxy. Like, come on.
Yeah, but we got to get Ahsoka and Sabine back too.
I know that's where we're going with all this crap Filoni's got cooking up with the gods and stuff. I get it, but it's like I don't care, man. I don't.
Oh
care.
Man, heavily disagree with that. Heavily.
That's fine, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine that you feel that way too. It's fine.
I'll be the guy. I don't care. I was just like, oh, cool. He's looking over at the thing, and he's gonna get backstabbed somehow by this thing guiding him. I already know what's gonna happen, right? But whatever.
Or do you? We'll see.
Maybe he's the son, and Ahsoka's the daughter, and they'll come together. See, dumb. Already dumb. Like everything I just said, dumb. So
I believe Yoda once said, "Hard to see the future is."
Yes.
So,
I hope you can clip this and show it again, and it's awesome. And I'm like, dude, that was so sick. Anakin's the father, and he works for the Ahsoka, and like, I hope all that goes down. I truly do.
What if Grogu's the son, and we're reading it all wrong? Grogu just suddenly
Grogu's got to take a big heel turn.
Yeah, for real.
Well, the son is like the dark side of the Force, right? Personified.
Yes.
Yeah. What if it's Snoke?
Well,
no,
like,
it's not Snoke.
No, it's
not
Palpatine.
Snoke.
He's back.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah, gotta be.
Somehow.
I don't think there's a player in canon right now that portrays the son.
Yeah. I just think it's going to be so.
I don't think there's anybody out there right now.
Oh, I know. It's Wedge Antilles.
How are they going to make this not goofy?
I don't think that.
Because I've seen the Clone Wars thing with the big bird thing pulling on people, and Anakin's got both of them, and
that's just one. That's just one part of the story, man.
You do need to watch it.
I need to watch it. Just maybe it'll sway me. Because everything I saw on it, I was like.
Zach, I don't think it'll sway you, Zach, but it will make you kind of think at minimum. Like it'll
Yeah,
at least
it'll
make you
get your
think.
creative
Yeah.
mind rolling.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I still think it's possible that we dive into the Mortis gods without assigning these new roles necessarily.
Oh, you think they'll just be they are the gods? And
Yeah, I think it's just in reference to what we know about the Mortis
Okay.
gods already. And we're not necessarily going to dive into the story of, while yes, I think us as fans, like me and DJ, we know Anakin now is kind of like that father figure, and Ahsoka is now like that daughter figure. I don't necessarily think they have to tell that in story, in live action.
Well, I think they
Yes,
will
they do.
because her head is gone.
I know you feel that way, DJ.
Well, I think they will because the way I took it is her head is gone, telling us Ahsoka is the new daughter.
Okay. See, I'm still
You need
still
to go
caught
watch
up
those
on.
Mortis arc episodes to really get
I'm
why
s-
our head's gone.
Yeah, you really
Okay.
do. You really do.
Oh, okay.
I'm still caught up on
I
because
just
Balin's goal is to go to the beginning to break the cycle.
what does that mean?
I
That's the
I
most
still think-
generic, boring thing.
I
I've
still think it's on the surface. It's right in our face. I'm still convinced that he's trying to find a World Between Worlds access point.
Okay.
Just like the Mortis gods allowed Ezra to access the World Between Worlds in Rebels, I think Peridia is another
good
way
point.
to access the World Between Worlds through these
not?
figures.
That's what you need to do, Zach, to really understand what Balin's doing with those statues at the end, and then looks off in the distance and see that shining little light on that
Yeah.
mountaintop. That you need to go see all of those Mortis episodes. It'd take you an hour and a half max.
Yeah, it is really. It is worth it.
It's very quick. I mean, you just
Yes,
get
I got TikToked by it because I
You
was
did
like,
get
this
TikToked
is
by it.
goofy.
yeah. You got TikTok for sure. Just
I
go
hope
watch.
so.
Yeah, go watch those. I'm not saying it's going to make everything clear.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it's like when people say, "Well, just read the book." Yeah, I'm not being that way. I'm just saying if you'll check out those three, that whole ending will make sense. You don't
Okay.
need to watch anything else. You just
Yeah.
move on.
I'll
At least
be-
it
I'll
will
be
at least
open to it.
make you think. Yeah.
Yeah,
For
I'll
sure.
be open to it.
And
Uh,
for those
Surprise
who are
fans.
still skipping Clone Wars and not watching the Mortis arc, you should.
Well, everything I saw in Clone Wars, I was a snooze fest. So I was like, all right, this is horrible. I'm turning this off.
I'll give you an essential list again, Zach.
I need the essential list.
I
DJ.
got you.
No,
I got you.
I'll give you that. 'Cause sometimes I'm like, I want to watch Clone Wars, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with season 6.
Well, the first like 3 episodes, I was like,
Yeah.
this is not.
Like most TV shows, you kind of have to get to the second season and just it gets better from there.
That's fair.
Yep.
That's
Which means Ahsoka season 2 is going to be a banger, folks.
boom, baby.
All right,
Sure.
moving on. Thrawn and the Great Mothers. Talking about them real quick. I think the only thing we haven't really touched on is these little tubes of bodies that they are overlooking. I don't know what the deal is with that. Still haven't quite figured that out. Is it
Forgot about
undead
that.
soldiers? Is it witches that they're bringing back to life?
It's witches.
You think so?
Yep.
That would be wild.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild.
It is
The reason I
spooky
say
season.
that is
Spooky season.
Ezra says the line of he brought him back, and that's why they're kind of indebted to him.
Ooh,
think
yeah.
that's what-
So it's the rest of them.
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm gonna
at
roll
least.
with that theory. I like that. I'm pleased with how Thrawn ends here, though. I think that there's gonna be some muddy waters between him and the Great Mothers coming soon. I think it's gonna become clear to the Great Mothers that Thrawn's
Means
just
to an
using
end,
them,
yeah.
and I think it's gonna be a very interesting little dynamic between those two parties moving forward. Ezra and Hera, no hug. We've touched on that,
Filoni's
but-
not a hugger.
but apparently that's a takeaway. Filoni's not a hugger.
That's where I'm going.
I
think,
don't like it. I want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I
think
didn't
that's
like it either.
dumb.
I kind of
Like,
wish.
Why would you not just give us that moment?
Yeah,
That's his like mother figure. Why would you not give us that moment?
I wanted
Yeah,
the
that
moment.
that moment needs to be there.
I wanted the moment.
What needs? Okay, here's what should have happened.
Also,
they
kind of
should've-
dumb how he walked out with the helmet on.
Yeah, it was dumb.
Oh, dude! All right, this goes back
Yeah.
to the director
Yeah,
thing.
that was
That is
dumb.
100% Fema Yuba or whatever.
Yeah.
Deciding that horrible decision.
Yeah.
Stupid. Why would they not just blast him in the face immediately?
So here's exactly what should have happened. Ezra should have walked out, helmet off.
Mhm.
All right. And as he's going to hug Hera, Zeb comes in and pushes Hera out of the
Pushes
way
her out
Yeah.
as
and just
comedic
hu-
relief. Yeah,
and just hugs the mess out of it.
well,
That'd have
if this was animated, that's exactly what would have happened.
that is what would have happened.
but
I agree.
I mean, it should still happen. Maybe that's
Agreed.
where season 2 begins. Is Zeb
With the
walks
hug.
through- He like it's
He's-
like it's like
No,
a
no,
two.
no.
No. Listen,
Filoni's trolling us all.
No. Maybe it's like in Two Towers, in Lord of the Rings Two Towers, when everybody thinks Aragorn's dead and Gimli comes through the crowd and he's like, "Where is he? Where is he? I'm gonna kill him, you!" And then he's like, "Ah!" And then they hug, and it's this moment. Like that's how season 2 should begin. That'd be awesome.
So
Now
it
that
picks
you've
up where
said
they
that-
cut away from it.
Yeah,
That's the
I wanna
first
see
scene
it.
in season 2.
yeah.
but-
So it's like you see that, and it's like,
so
I'm
we're
gonna,
thinking Hera and Ezra about to hug, but then here comes
and then Zeb
Yeah,
like just
I'm
full
in.
on tackles him from the blind side.
I'm all
you know,
in.
that'd
I'm
be
in on
that'd
that.
be cool. And
How
then
did
just
we
punch,
not get that moment?
and then
He
just
should have been there.
he just
pushed her
punches him
away.
just because, you know.
Um,
And then he can make some comment about, "Oh my gosh, you still smell terrible." You know, it's like that's how it begins. That would be
that would've
actually
been
really
so good. Why
That
didn't
is
we
good.
get that right there?
Because
All right,
it's
take
an
back
emo-
the Zeb thing.
because
Give me
it's
that
a-
moment.
because it's an emotional ending, and that's why we can't have comedic relief.
Well, no, they tried to be too dramatic with it. With the Chopper knows him somehow and takes the helmet off, and they don't blast him on sight. All of that clunky. That goes back to the clunkiness thing, and then we don't even see the hug. Ah,
But
No.
it's coming in season 2.
Yep.
okay.
Opening scene. Opening scene. You heard it here, folks. We have read Filoni's mind. He's just trolling us all. 100%.
I
We're getting
hope
it
that
soon.
if there's somebody, I'm convinced that there's somebody in some back room at Lucasfilm who's responsible for keeping up with all Star Wars podcasts.
Well, they're
Yeah.
listening
And
to this
eventually, when they get to this, they're like, "Oh man, hold on, hey Dave, hey, these guys, they figured it out." You know, I want that to be a thing. That'd be
Yeah.
sounds like a fun job, actually.
It would be a fun job. I know who they need to hire.
Yeah.
RFB. RFB
Oh,
listens to
Oh,
every
yeah. RFB. Shout out
podcast,
RFB.
man. Dedication.
Man, I've been so inactive on Twitter. I kind of forgot that.
Dude, you can't
He's
forget
out
about
there.
RFB, man.
I did though. I apologize, RFB. You're listening. I'm so sorry.
Oh, he is.
I know
he's
he's listening.
Shout
he's
out
like
to
the,
you, RFB.
He's
The
like
goat of Star Wars podcast
like-
listening.
He's like
and
our
Daniel.
phones.
Daniel listens a lot too. I mean, he runs
Yeah,
Star
shout
Wars
out.
Podcast Day.
Oh, that's
Both of them.
right. Yeah.
Both
I
of those
forgot
are
about that.
diehards. Love them both.
They're
Love
like
'em
our
both.
cell phones. They're listening to everything we say.
I love it.
Ooh, that's deep.
Mm.
Okay,
Scary.
final moments. Final moments. We go to Ahsoka, Sabine. Obviously, you know, they get their little moment, but let's be real. Let's cut to the chase. Anakin Skywalker. He's who we want to talk about here, right? I mean, incredible moment. The music swells. We get this really cool parallel with Anakin watching Ahsoka walk away from the Jedi Council or Jedi Temple in the Clone Wars versus Anakin watching Ahsoka walk away now as a Force ghost. I loved every second of seeing this. Okay, second time this series that I cried. I'll admit, I cried. I wept at this part. Zach, how did Anakin as a Force ghost here on Peridia work for you?
Perfect.
Yeah.
If I going into the episode, if you would have told me he was going to show up, I'd be like, oh gosh, you know, kind of a cameo thing. But the way they did it, I thought was very, 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 very well done.
Yeah.
That the framing of it, where he kind of comes into frame, thought that was amazing too.
Mhm.
The music was amazing. How he looked was amazing.
Dude, he looks incredible.
His
Incredible.
acting, his little like emotion he gives of
Yeah.
like just being proud and like just being
Yeah.
happy. That's how I took it.
I meant to say it earlier. This is Hayden's best performance as Anakin and Darth Vader
Easily.
in the entire show
100%.
with the training recordings, even that she plays
dude,
in the
those were
ship.
great. We didn't even talk about those.
With
Yes.
the World Between Worlds episode and with this, like Hayden, he still got it. Like,
Oh,
give
dude,
him-
no, he's better. He's
Yeah.
He's better than he's
better.
ever been.
Yeah.
He's definitely better.
And I want to bounce off of what you said there too, Zach, real quick, and I'll pass it to you, DJ. About him looking on, being proud. I feel like that was, and I feel like you could probably view this scene as fan servicey. Like, oh, okay, yeah, you're just giving us Anakin one more time. Anakin probably, and this is just my interpretation, I think he's looking on to this moment thinking about all the things that he's done in his life. Ahsoka is the one thing that he got right. And he's so proud in this moment that she is allowing the Force to just work through her. She's doing what she needs to do. She saved Ezra. And I feel like he's just got this overall sense of pride in this moment of, yes, I got something right. Ahsoka's out there. And obviously he got Luke and Leia right. But like he's actually being able to see this come to fruition, if you will. Those are my thoughts on the scene and why it's so impactful. DJ, what were your thoughts on Anakin being here?
Watching Hayden come back has been awesome. I'm never going to be upset about seeing Hayden, but I don't remember who it was. I saw someone on Twitter. They said, man, this is it.
Yeah.
I know I'm really sarcastic a lot here and I'm goofy and that's kind of who I am naturally, but I'm being totally serious right now. This could be Hayden's last outing as Anakin. And that Force Ghost shot could be the last time we ever see Hayden come back as Anakin. And so there's this part of me that really I feel similar to how I feel when Luke died at the end of Last Jedi. I'm like, dang, he will never be Luke Skywalker again. And I'm like, man, he may never be Anakin Skywalker again.
Yeah.
And there's this part of me that it just doesn't sit well with me. Not that I'm ungrateful, not that I didn't enjoy it. I think for the record, I love that he was there as a Force Ghost at the end. I don't want anybody to hear it wrong. It's just kind of not to be over dramatic, but it's kind of like my childhood just went away. It's kind of like my childhood just disappeared. Like any innocence that I still had in my brain somewhere for Star Wars is kind of gone.
Well, it's just so real, right?
Because it's just, yes, because he's proud of Ahsoka, like you guys said. And I totally see that take. And he got to see Luke and Leia off at the end of Return of the Jedi. That's all powerful moments. There's a great, great story there, and great, just life lessons in there too. It's just, as a fan, it's just, you grow up with something, you love it. And then you have to at some point say, okay, bye. And yeah. I'm kind of, sounds so silly. It's just a show. I'm not ready to let go of that, and that's hard for me.
Yeah.
The only thing I can really relate it to, this is going to sound cheesy, is Toy Story 3. Okay.
Oh man. You talk about hitting.
Yeah. I saw that in the theater like a lot of us did. And this funny side of the story is I was actually on a date when I saw that movie for the first time. Oof. So I had to hold back the tears.
Oh, man, dude, I was crying like a baby.
Yeah, I got home and I was just like, okay, I'm going to appreciate every toy I have still. Mm-hmm. And then I still feel that way kind of about Star Wars and in fact about Hayden being able to come back. It's like I wanted that for so long. And now that it's here, I didn't savor it. I didn't savor that. And that's
bittersweet.
I was just about to say that it's so bittersweet. I mean, now if I can be funny, it's like on my honeymoon, me and my wife went to a steakhouse and I made the mistake of getting a chicken fried steak and she got this fat, awesome looking sirloin. I had a bite of hers and immediately regretted my chicken fried steak. I didn't appreciate where I was.
Yeah.
And I wish that I had the steak. I wish that I appreciated Hayden a little bit more during those last couple years. And it's like, dang, I
feel that way a lot of times about video games. I know exactly what you're talking about, where you've been waiting years for it. You play it, you get done, and then you're like, now what?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
I think, all those feelings are warranted for sure, because you never know. We don't know what the creatives are thinking.
No, that's true. That's the only thing that kind of holds me to the hope of seeing Hayden again.
Yeah.
Do you think
if season 2 happens?
Oh, go ahead, Keller.
No, I was just gonna say if season 2 happens, I think Anakin's showing up, 100%.
I concur.
Now that he's been in season 1, I'll even take it to this step. Now that he's been in season 1, I think they market season 2 as Anakin showing up. Even now seeing the finale numbers, by the way, which weren't as great as they were probably hoping for, I think they market season 2 with Anakin being in a pretty solid role as far as communicating with Ahsoka. Just my take. Just my opinion.
That would be awesome. I mean, I'm okay with that. I want Hayden back. I think if he ever comes back, I'll appreciate it more.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were you saying, Zach?
I was gonna say, do you think if this is the end, are you happy with how it ends? Do you like this?
Right now, I'm split. If I'm being totally honest, it's like I said. It's like I felt very weird about Luke dying at the end of Last Jedi, and I know he came back as a Force Ghost, but a Force Ghost kind of just comes back whenever they feel like it. That's
a cheat code. It's like
and so it's kind of like, okay, he can come back, but he's not gonna do backflips. Well, I guess he could. I guess now that we've seen Hayden do backflips as a World Teen Worlds guy, that's fine. But my point is,
it's not him. It's
not. Yeah, it's just kind of one of those things. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, I'm 50-50. Okay. I want him back. I'm okay with the way I really am okay with the way it ended. It's just I love Hayden as Anakin. He's my hero. Like Anakin Skywalker is my hero.
Agreed.
And even though he becomes Darth Vader, I don't care because Anakin Skywalker in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith and Ahsoka and Obi-Wan is the coolest character on the planet. And
Darth Vader.
To
I
me,
mean, he
to
is
me,
the
yeah.
coolest villain ever created.
He gets to be Darth Vader, and that's what's
Like,
so big to me about that. You know,
he's
it's
the best character in stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
Period.
And
Yeah.
so I have a hard time saying goodbye to that. And I think that's where, like, I'm glad that we've had this time to kind of like get through the crud that is the sequel trilogy and get to this point. It's like, okay, cool. We're at a point now where it's like I can really appreciate Darth Vader the way I appreciated him in Rogue One.
And he's never been better. Exactly.
Yeah. And this is a different
better.
and this is Darth Vader as Darth Sidious wanted him to be. So that's really cool. You know, like this was the intention behind him turning to the dark side, was him to be this guy, you know, and that's really cool to see come to fruition as well. So it's almost like I don't want to say goodbye to that either, you know, and I guess
I saw that on Twitter where people were like, "This is what Sidious
did you
had in mind."
I haven't seen that.
The World Between Worlds, where he's giving us the pump and it's full red eyes, red lightsaber. It's like, this is what Sidious had envisioned.
Yeah, I never saw that.
And just imagine what would have, like, we got robot Darth Vader. Imagine full max power.
Yeah, like can we just, for like the sake of kicks and grins, can we recreate the Rogue One thing but have Hayden do it?
Oh,
like, can we do that? Can somebody
cool.
at RFB, since you work for Lucasfilm apparently, can you like can you like make that happen? Just run up the flagpole to old Kathy before you
do it. Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Balin now has a "do it" line.
He does have it.
He does. He
says it to Sabine.
All right.
I love that moment, by the way, with Balin, where he's talking to Sabine. Thought that was.
Yeah, it was.
Good times.
Overall, Ahsoka season 1, for me, it was 9 out of 10. I do think if the finale had landed better, I probably would have flirted with saying 10 out of 10 personally. But overall, I was so thrilled with this show. What are y'all's just overall season rankings, real quickly, DJ?
It's a very even, like 9 out of 10.
Okay.
I think if
Right
I had to
there with
get,
me.
I'm either an 8.9 or like a 9.2. Like I'm somewhere in that range.
Yeah, that's fair. Zach?
I don't want to be the same, but I'm the same. I'm at a 9.
And it feels that way after our conversation. It feels like we all kind of approach this show, this season, kind of all at the level field here.
I just thought it was great. Overall, there's no other way. I don't want to lie to you guys. It's
that's
how I feel.
That's how I felt too.
Really, really good. It was way better than I expected, to be completely honest. Like I was at like a 6, 7 coming into it, and then come out as a 9. That's huge.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's close here. First of all, we definitely want to shout out Kevin Kiner. And really just the Kiner brothers overall, the Kiner family.
Thank you, Kiner brothers.
Incredible. Give them every single piece of Star Wars at this point. Every single piece. Yeah, I hear you. Ludwig did phenomenal with Mandalorian. Keep the Mandalorian theme, but the rest of the show, give it to Kevin. Give Kiner all of it.
Every piece of Star Wars.
It's like Michael Giacchino and John Powell, who did Rogue One and Solo respectively. They're awesome, but Kiner deserves his time in the spotlight.
This is his resume. Like if you need proof, go watch the Ahsoka show.
Yes,
and Rebels. That's another thing. My sister would text me every week right at 9:00 and say the music every week.
It was the winner every week. It was the winner except the Anakin episode. Anakin was the winner that week, but week,
but it's a close second, you know.
Like I said, the touches and the callbacks
and everything,
and then not overdoing it. Oof, man. Because you could do that. Like, you could make it, it's just John Williams' clone. And he does not do that. They do not do that.
Yeah.
It's so close. I remember whenever they did the Clone Wars movie, he was so against recreating the Star Wars theme with those drums for Clone Wars that, like, he thought it was going to suck. And everybody hated it at first. But then you watch 4 or 5 episodes of Clone Wars and you're ready to run through a brick wall because it's that awesome. You know? That's what Kevin Kiner brings to Star Wars. It's a fresh take, but it's the same.
Yeah. All right, well, listener Jessica on Twitter and everyone out there wants to know, where do we go next? Any closing thoughts on what a season 2 might look like? Or do you think we just skip season 2 and we're into Mando season 4, Skeleton Crew, and the movie?
Oh,
I don't know.
not.
I think that's
I
what it's
think
going to be.
you think we're not getting season 2.
I'm so afraid we're not.
I'm afraid we're not too, because of all these strikes and everything has delayed them. And I think
Dude.
Disney's more about meeting the money line than the storyline.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
think
just being
they-
honest. That's how I feel
think-
about it.
And
Well-
when with Ray, all that happening, it's just, man. I hope that's not true, but we've got Acolyte, we've got Skeleton Crew,
I
we've
forgot
got
about Acolyte.
Mando
Mando
season
4. I feel like Acolyte and Andor, though, we don't really need to worry about those
Well,
because they're
I'm
not
just talking
connected.
about like slate of releases, though.
Okay, yeah,
And so that's another piece of that puzzle.
Sure.
That I mean, we're a long ways out from the movie, let
Yeah.
alone if we wait for another season of this. I am so afraid not.
I
wish
don't see Filoni making a movie without Ahsoka in the main galaxy, though. Like that's her,
She's in
Why
it.
does she come
his
back?
girl.
Like, how does she come back? I don't.
But
A
I also think
freaking
they could
space
easily.
whale.
I think they could. That's what I was gonna say. I
That's
think
the
they could
only
easily
thing.
first act of the movie, Ahsoka and Sabine show
Well,
up.
we got to remember,
a
Hera
Purgle.
saw the giant hyperspace ring. I mean,
Yeah, they
all
know how
she's-
to. They know how to get there now, and
All
they
they
know how
need
to
to do is
recreate it.
Yeah, they just need Chopper and R2D2 to go in there and like wreck shop on a bunch of droids,
Well,
steal their memory
But
bank.
they made this
Well, no,
massive
Ezra
deal
has
about
the
it.
ship from them, so they has to have some sort of tracking on it. Like, hey, just go get all this stuff. You know how we just got here? Bring that in. Done.
What were
Yeah.
you about to say, Caleb?
Oh, I was gonna say they make a massive deal about Ahsoka being where she's supposed to be.
Yeah,
Ahsoka
that's
says
why I'm like,
to
maybe she
Sabine,
doesn't.
we are where we are supposed to be. And I was gonna say too, the movie, I believe Ahsoka's gonna be a part of it, but I still think in today's day and age, and I disagree with this necessarily because I always think Jedi should be the main player when necessary. But I think in this day and age, the face of Star Wars for that movie is gonna be Din Djarin and Grogu, because that's what's gonna put
1000% true.
butts in seats. So at the end of the day, I think those are the main players, and if Ahsoka's not part of it, that's a shock, an absolute shock.
She
but
will
I-
be.
Yeah, the Ahsoka
Yeah.
series was meant for diehards like us. You
Yeah,
know,
it really was.
and Mando was meant to bring people to Star Wars who were pissed off, at the sequel trilogy. I mean,
yeah,
that's the facts. Those are the facts. And when you bring them all together, it's going to make for a great movie. It's going to bring a lot of people, as you said, butts in the seats. So Grogu and Din Djarin at the face of a movie is fine because that's what it's
Yeah.
been the face of since 2019.
They're the face
Yeah.
of Disney Plus.
I think
mean,
I just got
literally.
my head wrapped around this idea of Din Djarin, Grogu, Ahsoka, Luke, Boba Fett, Bo-Katan,
Well,
all of
make
them
no
being
mistake.
there for that movie.
That's going to happen. They
Yeah.
all have to be there.
So you
Yeah.
think they're just going to fill if like Zach's saying we don't get a season 2 before the movie, you think we're just going to fill in those gaps with they're here,
No, I think that there'll be
or a
fillers.
crawl.
There'll be fillers and other stuff like not Acolyte, but definitely Skeleton Crew, and then
With
there will-
Ahsoka?
well, it's possible. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I just think it's
Okay, okay.
anything's up for grabs.
Okay.
And I think there'll be a season 4 of Mando. I would appreciate a Book of Boba Fett 2. And only
Probably not gonna
focus
happen.
on Boba, but he'll
Sure.
be grafted into something like Skeleton Crew, which would
Yeah.
be cool,
Okay.
or it's other things. So
I think-
we'll get there. It's just gonna be a weird journey. Is all I'm saying.
I'm hoping there's a season 2 of Ahsoka though.
season
big
2
time.
is the answer to your problems.
Yes,
got
it
season
is.
two.
It is.
They
It is.
end it with them getting back. Boom, movie.
You get Skeleton Crew, we get Mandalorian season 4, we get Ahsoka season 2.
That leads us into the
movie. That's what needs to happen, and I'm
I agree.
sure that was the plan. It
It's-
had
it's-
to have been.
It's probably still the plan, even though the rider
Gotta
strikes
be.
are going on. I mean,
It
they're
better-
not-
It needs to be. It needs
they-
to
The
be.
writer
here's the
strikes
thing.
are over. So,
well, there's
Yeah, it's
people
the actor
picketing.
strike. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
there's
actors now.
people. That's the thing. Yeah, and that's okay though. Like that'll get resolved. Don't worry, it's gonna be resolved. And then whenever they
Sure,
get to that
yeah.
point, it's fine. It's Disney knows where they need to put money. They need to put money in Marvel and Star Wars, and as long as they focus on those two things, they'll continue to stay afloat. That's
Sure.
the facts. As long
Yeah.
as they stay there, they'll stay afloat. And I
And
say
if they
that
sell
to say,
it to Apple.
yeah, well, yeah, I guess. But here's the thing: if they
I hope
do
they
that
don't.
with Star Wars, yeah, I hope they don't do that either. if they are able to focus on Star Wars the way they should, they'll wait. I know they're going to wait because they are not going to do a 7, 8, 9 mistake again.
Right.
They're just not.
No, I
They
agree.
learned their lesson.
It's
That's why they've
just
been.
another thing that's out there too is they were saying they were waiting to greenlight a season 2 of Ahsoka based on the performance of season 1. That's been reported and talked about everywhere.
Well, greenlight the thing, dadgummit. I mean, come on, Disney, it ain't that hard.
Well, but
I mean,
what
it's got
I'm not
pretty
disagreeing
glowing
with that.
reviews.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm saying if that was their mindset, then they have a plan then of if season 2 wasn't
To get
greenlit,
to-
then this is what we do.
I now see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. Like it is in the cards already to do it. And to be completely fair to Filoni and everybody, I do think it would be hard to just go into a movie with how it ends, but I think it could be done.
Yeah.
I think Ahsoka and Sabine, first half of the movie, are in this other world. Mando and them are in this world.
I think
Climax of the movie, Act 3, they come together, defeat Thrawn.
Yeah. I think they've got a plan for.
It's too quick.
I think they've got a plan for both routes because they understood the business part of it regarding waiting on a green light for season 2 or not. But I think ideally they want to do a season 2.
Yeah, they definitely need to take their time.
You know, thinking of like HBO too, or as well, you always want to keep people subscribed to Disney Plus. So, you know, why not do another season? You're going to get at least 8 more weeks of. Well, did you see that they were? Oh, this is Marvel, but they're like, oh, you know, we're kind of getting away from this. We're actually going to have showrunners based on the writer strike agreements. Mm-hmm. And so, man, who knows? Maybe we don't get an 8-episode season. Maybe we get like a 12-episode season or something.
Who knows? Who knows?
Well, be dope.
I think it's time to wrap up, boys. This has been really fun. I really enjoyed talking through this with you. I mean, we're working on 3 hours here. This was long overdue. Long overdue. We've been
It's a part 1, part 2. Is this a part 1, part 2 Mando episode?
No. I'll just drop it all at once. People can
if
just
you're still listening, shout out.
Yes, if you're still listening, you're legit. And if you're still listening, and of course you haven't subscribed, I mean, I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to do. No, but we appreciate it, and I appreciate you two coming on. It's always a pleasure talking Star Wars with you guys, and I'm sure we'll try to plan a season 1 review of Skeleton Crew or whatever comes next, or a season 2 of Andor review.
Acolyte. Come on, I'm still hyped for that.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
There's a lot of great things for Star Wars coming, and of course, Mando Talk will be here. Again, just to clarify, the podcast feed is going to go kind of dark until whatever TV show releases, but the YouTube channel is going to stay active regarding short videos, but nothing really long form. I'm going to really enjoy not doing necessarily the hour-long pods and things like that. We're just going to focus on like short-form content and have a lot of fun in this dead period, so you'll want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and that's my plug. DJ Foster, Zach Horvath, thank you so much both for being here. Zach, any final words for the lovely audience?
Thanks for having me, DJ. It's great to talk to you. We haven't really texted or talked or anything, so this was awesome. This was very much needed, kind of built up, obviously 3 hours of discussion, but
yes,
there's a lot to digest, a lot of good stuff. I love Ahsoka, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. DJ.
Yeah, man. Always a good time to be here. Always a good time to be on Mando Talk. It's kind of like, okay, glad we're back in the saddle, as it were, and love getting to talk with Zach. And I talk to Caleb all the time. I don't get to talk to Zach nearly enough, so it's like this is perfect that I get to sit down with both of y'all. But and it's just good to talk Star Wars. If you're looking for more Star Wars content from me, you can find me on Twitter at Rebel Scum Texan. I have not changed that handle, although I almost have a couple times. That's where I'm on Twitter. And then I have a Facebook group I run called Rebel Alliance Theological Seminary. We just make Star Wars jokes in there. That's really all it is. But if you want to check it out, you can. Then I have another podcast. Caleb, I'm gonna plug it real quick and then we'll move on. But I've got another podcast called Cinematic Theology. We look at a lot of movies from like biblical perspectives and things like that. Most recent episode was over Fiddler on the Roof, which was a lot of fun.
Great movie.
A lot of fun on that episode. And then the next episode, this is Star Wars related, is going to be the guy that actually created the Mando Talk intro on guitar. His name is Jonathan Hare. He's a friend of mine. He and I are on this podcast together. We're going to discuss The Last Jedi.
Ooh.
And our other host, Parker Kleinert, he is kind of moderating our conversation. He's not
Ooh.
really a Star Wars fan, but me and John are.
Yeah.
We talk about it a lot. So we haven't recorded it yet, although
Uh-huh.
we are going to be recording very soon on that within the next week or so, and then it will release hopefully by the beginning of next month.
Well,
And
there
that's
you
what.
go.
So, but check out in November our conversation cinematic theology for Last Jedi. But for now, we've got like 17 other episodes you can listen to for other movies. So
There you go,
good
including
times.
the awful movie Nacho Libre, right?
I wasn't on that episode, and it is not an awful movie. You have just an awful opinion.
Overrated. Do.
Oh, one more thing. Go Rangers!
Yeah.
Hey, go Rangers, baby. I'm
Go
rooting for you,
Rangers.
man. I'm
Yeah, they're
rooting for
feeling
them.
it.
They're doing well.
Never
All right.
thought I'd root for the Rangers or the Cardinals fan.
You know, it is what it is. It is what it
about
is.
side by
When the
side with a
Cardinals are
friend?
awful,
I
you
was
got to
about
do
to
what
say
you got to
Cardinals are-
do.
So
Hey, we still got more rings. The most rings on this YouTube screen right now belong to me as
That's
the
true.
Cardinal fan.
the history of greatness. Yeah.
It's fair.
So-
It's whatever.
solid.
Whatever.
It's a solid organization. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Except
not
this
right
year.
now. Not right now. All right, let's get out of here. You know what is a solid organization? Mando Talk.
Mando talk.
And we'll catch you on the next one. And until then, as always, we have spoken.